Live from Deathray Studios in the sunny West Valley of Phoenix, it's Late Night with the Davey. Appearing on tonight's show, visual artist extraordinaire Cole MUNRO-CHITTY and writer-director Cecil Laird. And now, ladies and gentlemen, your host, Davey Deathray. What's happening, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. I am Davey Deathray, and this is Late Night with the Davey, the only horror-themed, well, mostly horror-leaning late night talk show on YouTube, at least that I know about. If anyone else is doing it, it's a complete surprise to me. So what's happening, everyone? Great to see you guys. I see some of y'all here in the chat. We've got Antonis popping in to say what's happening. I am and will continue being Antonis. That's awesome, man. Love seeing that. We've got Big Rod, notification engaged. I'll be back. Excellent, Big Rod. That's great, man. Really happy to see you, returning to these streams here. It's always great to know, that you got people coming back. It's very reassuring for sure. Yeah. Lamontre, what's happening, Lamontre? Great to see you, bud. And we've got my guy, Foz Rotten here. In the words of Korn, are you ready? Something like that. I don't know. I know he's got a bit of a higher voice than me. I can't do my guttural screaming the way I used to, folks. I guess I just smoked too much weed. What can I say? We got Matt Fatchy in the chat saying something that sounds a little dirty. Can I get some Davey up inside me already? Damn, I waited all day. Yeah, Matt, you got it, man. And then we've got our first guest, Cole, popping in here in the chat. Great to see him there. I see him in the waiting room, as it were. So we'll bring Cole here in not too long. Love that picture there with the croquet mallet. Is that the correct terminology? The correct nomenclature, as they would say in The Big Lebowski. And then we got Nicholas McMath popping in to say, what's up? How you guys doing today? I'm doing very well. It's been a bit of an interesting week here at the Deathray compound. Went through the weekend, everything like that. Father's Day was great. And then, yesterday we launched the campaign for Gotham Noir, which is a feature-length Batman fan film that I'm working on as a producer and a voice actor. So really excited to have shared that with you guys just yesterday. The Kickstarter is up and running. I've actually got the link in the description below if you guys want to check out the Kickstarter and support the film. I think we're at about 9% of our goals so far here on day 2. So yeah, really excited to share more of that with you guys as we go on. We're going to have little snippets of some of my vocal work that I did. And I believe we're going to have some images as well and all that kind of fun stuff too. So yeah, guys, if you like Batman, if you like horror, then you're going to want to check out what we've got going for Gotham Noir, because this is a blend of Batman and horror, takes place in the early 1900s. This is going to be a real gritty detective story. It's going to have elements that, at least when I was reading through the script, kind of reminded me of movies like Seven, something like Saw, maybe not as violent as Saw, but not too far from that kind of story. So really excited to, share more of that with you guys as we go along. And then we got, Foz just giving that hoo. Man, I remember, Foz, I don't know if it was like this when you were a kid, but man, in like grade school and middle school, holy crap, there's nothing. And maybe Cole can attest to this when he hops on. I'll have to make sure to ask him the super important Arsenio Hall woot question here. That was like the one thing that the teachers and administrators hated more than anything when I was a kid in school. Like if you had an assembly and the kids started doing the hoot, the Arsenio Hall hoot, that was like worse than putting up your middle finger as far as all the adults were concerned with at that point. So I don't know. Foz, let me know about the hoot. What's happening, Vanderhoff? Great to see you. Tyler, welcome into the chat. My guy Tyler is also working on Gotham Noir. So great to see somebody from the team always hopping in and being so supportive. I actually got to know Tyler just through the chat before even joining the team on Gotham Noir. And he also did some visual effects on the Uncharted fan film that Lux Media did called The Oxus Redemption, which is really damn good. If you guys haven't checked that out, you got to check it out. Just curious, am I familiar with Cody, Leach, or Garrett? Yeah, absolutely. I've watched Cody for quite some time, Nicholas. He is, I mean, arguably the best YouTube movie reviewer out there, right? I think I saw him, really early on when a lot of it was like horror centric, and I know he kind of covers everything now, which is great. I mean, it's amazing to see that people can, take care of their families and have careers. When the personality and the knowledge comes together with somebody like Cody, I mean, he is, he examines films really well. He's got a super charming personality and just the right amount of brashness and sarcasm to make it all work. And yeah, Garrett, I imagine you're talking about Garrett over at Born to Be Rad, right? That's who I'd imagine you're talking about. And yeah, really love Garrett's content. That whole like Rad Pack does so much great content as far as like physical media goes, and just that nostalgia drip. Like us old people, like we love the nostalgia drip, So if you can make me, remind me of something from my childhood, or make me smell a box of cereal I haven't smelled in years just from like looking at a picture of something else, memories are a wild thing. So it's really cool to hop on over there and see everything they're doing. And actually, I believe Foz and I, we do our show Movie Punks. We've got a new episode that'll be airing live on Saturday. We're going to be talking about Repo Man, celebrating the 40th anniversary of that film. A couple months late, or a few months late, but yeah, going to be celebrating that great punk rock classic. And Foz and I are actually going to do a little something with Garrett and Cody over there within that whole Born to Be Rad network. So really looking forward to sharing that with you guys when it's ready to share. Yeah, absolutely. Big Rod says super excited for the Gotham Noir content. Yeah, man, me too. I don't know how it's all gonna roll out exactly right now, but I know I'll be talking about it a whole bunch. So you will definitely see. And as Tyler says, he says, guys, it's gnarly. I wish I could show you guys the vocal stuff that I've done so far, because they've got, it's like an image of like an old radio, and you get like the squiggles of the, the waveform and everything, and the effects and everything that they've put on my voice is really cool. I mean, it was awesome to, I don't know if this is a spoiler or not, but I don't use this voice. So I actually, thought about what does this character sound like, wanted to bring that character to life, and was super self-conscious after I recorded all of my bits for it. But it was really cool to hear it with the effects and everything on it. Really brought the character to life for me. So yeah, excited to share with you guys. Boz says we all did the Arsenio Woot grade school dog pound. Yeah. Oh, that CGI gold title sequence too. Oh yeah, on Uncharted. Yeah, absolutely. What's happening, Gavin? Great to see you. We got Mud Nelson, one of our great Patreon supporters. How you doing, Gavin? Awesome to see you, man. And Fatchy saying Cody is a damn cool dude, very generous when coming on others' channels for sure. And Garrett is rad as hell. Yeah, looking forward to getting to know those guys a little bit more. Just a little bit of interactions here and there. Of course, Cody was on the first episode of this show. So yeah, but haven't really, chatted with Garrett or anything like that, other than, DMs and all that fun kind of stuff. So yeah, Robert the Wolfman's in the chat. What's happening, Robert? Great to see you, my guy. We've got Ashton Luck. How are you doing, Ashton? Blu-ray Addict is in the house. How are you doing, Blu-ray? Let's see here. Big Rod says, I bet there was some heavy syrup on that voice. No, I did. Well, I don't want to spoil it, but I had a few bits of inspiration, definitely going for like a old-timey mid-Atlantic kind of sound, I think. And Tyler says my voice sounds dope. Well, thank you so much. Nicholas saying, what's up to Robert the Wolfman? Yeah, guys, this is a really cool show. I'm super excited. I don't know, maybe moving forward, if I can, I try to like theme the shows a little bit, because while Cole and Cecil, operate within two different mediums within visual arts. They're both huge A Nightmare on Elm Street fans. They're both big is it Franzetta fans as well. So, you know, really cool to bring them on here. And I'm curious, let me know, guys, in the chat, would you be interested in seeing the format change slightly to where I bring both guests on at the same time? Or do you guys like it when it's one guest and then the next guest, like a traditional talk show? You know, just trying to throw some ideas out there, get your guys' input to see what y'all would think as far as moving forward with, you know, little tweaks to the format. So yeah, guys, our very first guest, we might as well get him rolling right now because we are just a little bit after quarter past the hour here. A good buddy of mine from my hometown of Juneau, Alaska. You guys have seen him on the channel about, oh gosh, was it a month and a half ago, 2 months ago? It's so difficult with how time moves when you just keep on doing content. But we had Cole on and had like a long form interview a couple months ago and wanted to bring him back on. We've been chatting about him putting together some, you know, designs for the channel here. He just was watching an episode of this show here a few weeks back and got inspired to put something together. So really excited to, you know, chat a little bit about that. I think we're going to get a look at those designs, and I've only seen like the preliminary, like the very first design. I haven't seen anything else. So this is going to be a first time for me as well as a first time for you guys. Want to bring on my good buddy, Cole MUNRO-CHITTY. How you doing, Cole? Great to see you, man.
Hey, glad to be here. Really excited to see everybody, Foz and Fachi in the chat. Love your guys' channels. Yeah, and I'm stoked to share some artwork tonight and chat about some movies. So.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you know, with you know, movie chat and everything. I don't know. Have you seen that? There was like a little Lee Cronin, the guy that wrote the Evil Dead Rise movie and directed that film. So I don't know if you follow him on socials, but he, you know,
saw something he's doing.
He put out like a script with the title scribbled out. So he scribbled out the titles, like working with Blumhouse, and I think it's Atomic Monsters. The other is it James Wan's production company, I think.
Yeah.
And you know, they're talking about we're going to be bringing back an ancient evil. He used the word nightmare while describing the kind of horror. Do you think this is a Nightmare on Elm Street thing that they're teasing here? Have you seen that? Have you seen anybody else talking about it? Because that's immediately where all the people, all the talking heads like myself, I'm like, oh, I'll let everybody else talk about it. But that's what everyone's saying.
I don't know. I think that's too good to be true. I haven't seen anybody say that, but you know, we can only hope. Cross our fingers. That'd be a good guy to attach to the project. So.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Like, if he were to get something like that, like, how would you feel about it? Did you enjoy Evil Dead Rise?
I thought it was fine. It's definitely not my favorite Evil Dead or my favorite horror movie from the last couple of years, but you know, it was fine for what it was. I'll probably never watch it again. I probably don't need to see it twice.
Well, and yeah, I felt like such a jerk because you know, I'm just such a huge fan. And the previews look so good, so I was like, oh, this is gonna.
Well, they showed you everything good in the preview, already. So.
And that's what I figured. Is I was kind of a dummy. I was like, oh, if they're showing that in the trailer, then the movie's gonna like really go nuts. Because if I remember correctly, you know, when Fede Alvarez did his Evil Dead film back in 2013, like, I mean, the stuff that the way that they push things in that movie, like you couldn't show that in a trailer, really, you know?
Right,
And that movie completely blew my socks off. I guess I was hoping that Rise would take it even further than that, but it didn't. It didn't even get to that point.
No, I'm super excited for a couple things coming out this year. I'd have to say probably number one on my list right now is Smile 2. Huge fan of the original film. I just thought, you know, they took a concept that was like a really short horror movie on YouTube and then ran with it and made a really cool sort of like, you know, just dark and gritty and kind of suffocating film. I don't know. It's really good. Have you seen that one, Smile?
I'm so bad. I've not seen Smile.
You got to check it, man. I know. You got to check it. It's really good.
And everyone's been going nuts over the trailer for the sequel. And I'm like, oh man, I got to see the first one before I watch the trailer. But it looks like it's got is it one of those types of movies that's sort of like a curse being passed on kind of thing? Like,
Yeah, it is.
the way,
It
like
is,
The
yeah.
Ring and The Grudge, and It Follows, like in that kind of.
Yeah,
I
Drag
guess
Me
that's
to
a
Hell, that
subgenre.
kinda, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
like its own
Actually,
subgenre now. Is
you know, it's pretty funny. We've been watching, me and my wife have been watching a bunch of that subgenre in the last couple of weeks.
Mhm.
And I've kind of dubbed it, and this is not derogatory or anything, but I've dubbed them as walking sim horror movies. So if you've ever played like a walking sim video game, you're just kind of like
Yeah.
walking through, you don't really have a lot of agency or anything. So like there's certain criteria that these movies have to meet to be a walking sim. And I've got a few here. So something paranormal or supernatural is happening to the main character, all right, and nobody believes them, or if they do, it's like they're really close circle. It's also happening to them, right? Or like it's happened to them. And then like it's like overly dramatic pacing and themes with the music and things like that, like just super dramatic. Like you think The Ring, it's just like, dun, dun,
Yeah.
dun, and then an investigation has to take place. So the main character has to like, investigate and figure out what's going on. And there's usually like some sort of mysterious expert or somebody that it's already happened to that they have to go to and talk to. And this isn't every horror movie. So like you think about a lot of different genres of horror movies, they're all like, they're either like haunted house or like trapped in some place with the killer, like the woods or a neighborhood or whatever, or, or trapped in a mall or whatever, but these walking sim movies are very specific. Not to be confused with haunted house or haunted location movies, because it usually doesn't take place in one location. The character's like free to move around in the world.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
But a lot of times they'll come back to one location, like their house or a halfway house or a prison or whatever. Like one location, their work, so one location that they're constantly returning to. Right. And then there's always like a lifeline character, like a tentative love interest. Like usually these movies have female protagonists, right? And so like the tentative love interest is like some guy, that they like, but nothing ever actually happens between them because there's fucked up things happening to them or whatever. And then they're kind of like, they're just going about their everyday life. We're just following them. This is why it feels like walking sim. You're just kind of like following them around, like as they trying to figure out what's going on. Ultimately, they have to settle it in one way or another, whether or not it's, they make it out or not. Like there's plenty of films where they don't make it out, like spoilers, drag me to hell, It Follows, technically, it's kind of a little ambiguous whether they make it out at the end of that one. I won't spoil the one that we saw or the one that we were just talking about, Smile. But there's plenty of movies where they do make it out. So other movies I would put on this list is like my tops is obviously The Ring is just amazing. We just watched that one like last week. Gothica is another one.
I remember Gothica.
Everyone thinks she like killed her husband and stuff, and like it turns out there's some killers. So The Empty Man from a couple years back, amazing movie. Dude,
I don't even know if I've heard of that one.
Yeah, so like everybody tried to give it shit because it sounded like The Bye-Bye Man or something like that, but it's not. It's nothing like that.
Yeah.
It's like
everyone hated The Bye-Bye Man.
It's like this guy who was a cop and like his family got killed in a car accident, and he's kind of walking around and like all this like cult stuff is happening around him. He like stumbles upon this cult and they're like suicidal and stuff, and yeah, it's really weird, but it's a total walking sim. Like by the end of it, he figures out everything that's happening to him. It's a really good film. The Mothman Prophecies, another one I would put up there. Richard Gere having to go to the town to figure out what's going on there. The Mothman. Yeah. Hereditary-ish, like mostly because like it follows a lot of the criteria that I'm talking about like you're kind of following them in their daily life and like something's happening to them, but you don't quite know what it is and they don't quite know what it is, right? It Follows, Drag Me to Hell, just like some great movies in the subgenre. And it's weird because like I just kind of noticed it and I was like, wow, these all kind of fit the same criteria.
Yeah. And they all, it seems like a lot of them too have like there's an element where they have to go investigate like the origins of the curse or like
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, I think in The Ring, she goes and talks to like Brian Cox's character, like out on the, you know, near the ocean on the bluffs or whatever. And
At the
so,
same time, what's his name is doing an investigation in the records room, like in the city, at the same
gotcha.
time.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah.
So it's like these, they kind of like, it's almost like a book, like a novel. It's just like a little young adult novel, you
Yeah,
know, kind
yeah.
of getting you through. But yeah, man, I mean, The Ring really stands up, especially for being
Mhm.
PG-13. Like just the
Oh, yeah.
little, you know, you can, I don't know what it is, but you can make the hairs on the backs of people's necks stand up with just, you know, the right look or image. And that film certainly did that. Yeah, big time. And Drag Me to Hell, man, I thought that was a really fun, you know, it gave me those Evil Dead 2 vibes where I'm like,
Mhm.
it's, you know, kind of scary, but also like just sort of funny. And I really
I
liked
actually
where they
think
took the effects.
hot hot take, but I actually think Drag Me to Hell is Sam Raimi's best movie. So,
Best movie ever? Wow.
yeah,
All right.
of all his movies, yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. Better than Spider-Man 2.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All
I'm
right.
not
Well,
a
maybe
big
I need to
I'm not a
watch it
big
again.
I'm not a huge superhero guy, so, yeah,
Gotcha.
that's probably has some bias there, but yeah.
And for me, it's just really that second Spider-Man stands out. You know, I don't know what it is. If it's
Oh,
Alfred
it
Molina as like the tragic
yeah, it
villain,
does.
I think I really liked that. Plus, it seemed like he was able to like really put his style in that one more than the first and the third, and
Mhm.
definitely more than friggin' Doctor Strange, whatever the heck what they made him do in that sequel to Doctor Strange.
Right, yeah. We won't talk
I
about
was like, all right, so was the compromise that you get to make Doctor Strange look like a deadite for like 5 minutes towards the end of the movie, and that's it? That's the only thing?
right.
Or oh, sorry, you can have Bruce Campbell be like a hot dog vendor. We'll let you have those two things, but other than
Right.
that, it just has to play like a Marvel movie. Yeah,
Totally.
that is the walking sim. What did you call it now? Walking sim
Yeah, it's just a
curse,
walking sim horror movie. Yeah.
walking
Walking
sim
sim
horror
horror.
movie.
Yeah.
And we're about to get more, right? Now is
We're gonna get more, yeah. Smile 2 is
would
on the way, so yeah.
yeah, would you consider something like Talk to Me in that same genre, or is that a little bit outside of
Yeah,
that?
for sure. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
talk to me. Did you watch it? Have you seen that yet?
I've not seen it yet. I'm
Oh,
so
man, you're
bad,
missing out
dude. I
on
know.
so there's 3 now that you're missing out on. I'm gonna hold you to the fire on these. It's that
Yeah.
one, it's Smile, and it's Barbarian. You
Yeah.
gotta see them. Yeah, they're
I
all
know
good.
that you guys can eviscerate me in the chat. I don't try to hide it at all. I let everyone know all the time. I'm like, guys, there's so much I haven't seen that I have to catch up on. You know, I don't even have a really good excuse at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I just like, I really wish we got a lot of good movies these days, and,
Mhm.
there are a few gems out there, so I'll speak
Yeah,
up for them when I can.
I think so. And I think sometimes it's just like, you know, there's a couple things going on. I think like, you know, everyone's talking like, well, why aren't people going to the movie theater? And I'm like, well, man, it doesn't really help when like the week after you put your movie out in the theater, you tell everyone when it's going to be on streaming. Like that's just going to cut the legs out from under it, right? So that's one thing. And
Yeah.
then, of course, because everyone talks about it, you know, I mean, myself included, but everyone, even folks that aren't necessarily content creators that, you know, go to YouTube or wherever just to like share their thoughts on things or, you know, Twitter, Instagram, wherever it is, you know, it's like, um, you know, the hype can get built up so much. So you can go see a
Right.
movie that like maybe you would have loved if you didn't hear from everyone for like a month and a half how great it was before you watched it on streaming. Which
Right, right.
I felt like Late Night with the Devil and Abbott, like there
Mm,
was all this hype and you know, two really good, totally different kind of horror movies, but I think the hype, you know, for some stung one and for others stung the other, you know.
sure, sure.
Now, did you catch either of those yet? Have you seen those?
Yeah, yeah, we caught Late Night, for the first time, like, a couple weeks ago, and then, Abigail probably around the same time, so,
Yeah. What do you think of
yeah.
those?
Um, Late Night was good. It was a little avant-garde, I guess, for my
Yeah.
taste,
Oh,
but,
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
uh and then Abigail was just a little too ridiculous for me. I don't know, it just felt like it wanted to be, like, 3 different movies kinda, but
Yeah, we should talk about that because I got stuff to
yeah.
say about Abigail. Because everyone like
Yeah,
that was the one for me. Like, You know, I went and saw Late Night with the Devil opening weekend. Kate and I went and saw it the first night. I was completely immersed, and maybe because I was in the theater, you know, it was really cool to see it go from that 3:4 to the widescreen black and white and all that. It just sort of like engrosses you into what's going on there. I also saw Abigail in the theater at it was like a press screening, and I was sitting there like, man, am I the jerk? Because everyone was like hooting and hollering, and I was just sort of like, this thing took like 45 minutes to like actually get going when the trailer already like did all the setup. So I figured by like 25 minutes, we should start seeing people get killed. That's like and then it felt like, yeah, I think you hit it like dead on, that it feels like it's trying to be a few different things. Like, is this House on Haunted Hill from 99? Is this From Dusk Till Dawn? Is it Evil Dead? Like, and why do we keep on going back to this whole you had to leave your son kind of thing? They acted like the audience was forgetting the main part of the main character.
Right. Yeah. Honestly, it felt like just the writers hadn't ever written a movie before. Like maybe they wrote for TV or something. It kind of felt like a Supernatural episode or something, like in a bad way though. Like Supernatural is a good show, but it just felt like very, I don't know, like something you just find on TV, like an hour-long episode.
Yeah, maybe a little too small, a little too contained, and they just had to like stretch it out. Because it
just felt drawn out because of that.
Yeah. There were things I really liked. Like some of the characters, I was like, oh man, they've got great chemistry. But then it seemed like, yeah, there was this identity crisis where I was like, man, if they just leaned into the fun aspect, maybe trim it down like 10 to 15 or 10, 15 minutes, cut, you know, some fat off of it there. I would have had a way better time. But man, even in like the last 25 minutes, I was like, you guys are still revealing new shit. Like, and this will crack you up, Cole, because I know we talked about this in our previous interview. Guys, you can check that out on the channel if you want to see the big old talk. We had touched on the latest Scream movies, and these are the guys that did the latest Scream movies.
And that makes sense. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And I have that same kind of thing with them where I'm like, oh, you guys are almost there for me, but just not quite, you know, but successful enough to keep on getting work.
I mean, yeah,
you know,
nobody ever said you had to have skill to be successful. So
yeah, and it's like one of those things where it's like, well, I guess it just doesn't fit my taste, you know, at least doesn't fit my taste completely. But yeah, certain aspects like loved the blood explosions in that movie. That was really fun. And yeah, some of the character stuff was all right, but it could have been
I've seen blood explosions on True Blood, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's
which was for a while an actual good show. So,
and maybe that's just me grasping for something, because it was like at the last act of the movie, I was like, well, I guess they are giving me some blood here. I'll throw them a bone on that.
Like I like the idea of the story, but it just felt like it felt like a Tales from the Crypt episode. Like, why is this thing 2 hours long? You know? Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. And everyone was like, well, they shouldn't have given it away that she's a vampire in the trailer. I'm like, no, that's fine. Like, you can give that away in the trailer, but just make sure that when you go see the movie that it just kind of gets to that, you know,
just
like
make sure it's interesting and it builds up to it in the right way. Yeah, totally.
Absolutely. Yeah. So what else are you looking forward to this year? Are you, looking forward to Maxine or?
Yeah, I'm a huge Ty West fan. Yeah, I'm a huge Ty West fan. Ever since his early stuff, like House of the Devil's great. I love The Innkeepers. Innkeepers is like one of my favorite ghost movies. The Sacrament, his found footage movie. That's like the Jim Jones cult. Like these guys go to an island with video cameras and it turns out to be a fucking Jim Jones cult and they're all committing suicide that weekend.
Yeah, didn't he direct like on one of the VHS movies, he directed like a short that was kind of like that? Right? Is that just sort of an expanded idea on that, or does he take it in a totally different direction? Because I think that's
it's totally different. Yeah, Sacrament's really good. Yeah, it's worth a watch for sure. If you like, if you like Ty West, and I mean the found footage aspect works into it really well. You know, yeah, and then you know the first two in this series, like I had no idea it was going to be a series. Obviously, A24 knew they struck gold with Ty West, and I'm so glad that they did, because he is one of the best of our generation for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I love the slow burn aspect that he brings. Like he really
Mm-hmm.
earns the creep factor.
Yep.
I feel like I'm a huge fan of that 1980 George C. Scott starring film, The Changeling. I'm a huge fan of The
Oh
Changeling.
yeah. Yeah.
And like I think that Ty West, you know, in The Innkeepers and House of the Devil, there has a little bit of that vibe, you know, like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I know that, you know, X and Pearl and of course and Maxine, they look to be different than that, but it is really cool to see, you know, that sort of like an old fashioned kind of style brought to the modern era. And I feel like that's what he brings for sure.
I feel like those movies were kind of like his like love letter to older cinema, you know, kind of like his film school phase, if you will.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
now he's kind of like in his exploitation phase, sort of like Quentin Tarantino
Yeah.
in Pulp Fiction, you know, kind of.
Yeah. Maxine definitely has that kind of Tarantino sort of
Yeah,
look
it
to
reminds me of there's these two movies called I don't remember what the second one's called, but the first one's called I think Avenging Angel with I think it might be Linda Blair. I'd have to check again. But they were on like I caught them on like Tubi a while back, and they're really good, like actual 80s exploitation films about this girl that like just moves to New York on a whim and then she gets raped or whatever, and she just has to go and kill everybody that was involved, you know, like, but really cool, gritty, like actual New York streets in the 80s type of movie, like action movie.
Is one of those called Savage Streets? Is that the other one? Because
no, the second one also had a play on Angel. It was Angel.
Oh, okay.
Something. Yeah. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But same idea. Same idea. Yeah.
Yeah. That was a big thing in the 80s. It was like, you know, all those Charles Bronson movies. There's something strange about those 80s movies that if a few guys saw a woman on the street, it was just like immediately went to the worst possible outcome. For whatever reason, the filmmakers were like, this is just what happens all the time. And it's like, wow, that's a pretty twisted version of reality. Yeah, I'm not saying those things don't happen, but it made it look like it's guaranteed, like no matter what, you know. A hell of a time in filmmaking there. Yeah. What about Alien Romulus? Are you an Alien guy? I'd imagine you've got to be, right?
Yeah. I mean, of course. Yeah, I love it's Fede, right? Doing that one. Yeah, I love what he did with Evil Dead, so you know, bring it on.
Yeah, the Alien franchise is so strange because it's like, you know, I mean, the first two are classics, you know, kind of a mixed bag after those. You know, I feel like when I was a kid, I liked Alien 3, but I think it was just because it was new and I was a kid. I haven't watched it like in a really long time.
You should watch it again. It's pretty good.
I like the gritty look and everything. I like that the alien had a different, you know, because it came out of a dog. It had a totally different, like, you know, style and like posture and everything like that. I really liked a lot that Prometheus had to like offer. I thought it was a beautiful looking film and liked a lot of it, but it felt like
how you skipped right over Resurrection.
Yeah. Well, you know, Resurrection, I've probably only seen it once. I think I've only seen it once. And again, like just sort of a movie from like, you know, just that moment in time where it was like only in that era could you make an alien movie that was just so like bizarre, right? Because it feels like when you look at the other movies in the franchise, you're like, they look relatively grounded compared
it really felt like straight to DVD material.
Yeah. Some of the you know, the props that all the different versions of the aliens that like Brad Dourif's scientist character had like in the tubes and everything was pretty wild. Yeah. I mean, a pretty gnarly cast there. I mean, you've got Ron Perlman, Winona Ryder, Brad Dourif, like, you know, pretty amazing.
Was the black guy the lead singer of Seven Dust?
Was it? I don't even
I
know.
don't,
That would be
we always
incredible.
thought so. We always thought
That would,
so when it came out.
yeah,
I was like, oh.
that would be like the most late 90s thing to do ever.
Yeah,
Is
totally.
just have the singer from Seven Dust be in there. But I think Joss Whedon wrote that, or wrote some version of that script. I don't know if he was the one that wrote the original version, but I know that was one of the first, I think, like films that he worked on outside of, you know, I doubt he was really had much to do with the original Buffy film, other than, you know, selling the rights. It doesn't sound like he had much control.
Right.
But Alien Resurrection, I think, was one of the first things he wrote that wasn't like his own property. So that's a really, you know, interesting little piece of history there. I don't know. I really don't know. It's probably not. I wonder what else he's written that we don't know about that's really bad, right?
Right.
Like all the J.J. Abrams Superman scripts that never got turned into anything, right? Because there were a whole bunch of those apparently, or just multiple drafts of that. Maybe it's because J.J. couldn't think of an ending for the movie. I don't know. He seems to have trouble with that.
Typical. Yeah.
Typical. But let's see. I want to hop on over and see what the chat is saying. I did see a little. So Foz says Savage Streets is a Linda Blair joint, though.
Oh,
okay. With Linnea Quigley. Okay.
So I think I was getting those two mixed up. I wonder who was in Avenging Angel. I just don't remember.
Chat, look it up.
If anybody's ever seen that in the chat, yeah.
And Tyler talking about the face huggers, I would imagine those rapey space spiders. Oh, geez. Yeah, I thought you know, with the anniversary of Alien not being that long ago, and you know, I've seen, you know, especially with the new film coming out, people have been talking about like which one is better, Alien or Aliens. Like, I think it's so tough to compare them, right? Because they're almost like different genres to me. I'm just so happy that the second
one's a horror, one's a haunted house movie, and one's just a straight up action movie. So yeah.
And it's cool. I mean, like, Alien fans are lucky that the sequel isn't just a rehash of the original.
I mean, James Cameron's a master, you know, at doing that. Even if you look at Terminator 1 to Terminator 2, like it's almost the exact same thing. You had like a slasher movie in the very first film, and then you go straight to fucking one of the best action movies ever made, you know?
Yeah. And I think the Terminator 2 to me sort of plays almost like a remake of the original. It's like, you know, he tweaked a couple elements, but if you look at I watched them back to back, you know, it's
got the same through line. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like even the same beats of like, all right, so there's the action scene, and while they're getting away during the action scene, like the hero is telling the would-be victim like what's going on and all about that Terminator that's chasing them, you know, and like very similar elements. But yeah, I mean, you know, Cameron, what he does with you know, bringing technology to the forefront as far as filmmaking goes. I mean, I don't know if there's you know, a filmmaker that is as responsible, at least, you know, in the last 50 years or so, of pushing filmmaking forward so damn far. I think that's one thing that we can get lost in the conversation, right? When you talk about somebody like him, maybe it's the focus is on like the stories he tells and all that stuff. And it's like, well, I mean, when they did The Abyss, they basically started working on Photoshop and then created Photoshop to do Terminator 2. Like I think that's one of those things that I don't know if many people know that's like how that program came to be, was because of a film, like, which is a pretty amazing thing to think about, you know?
Didn't Peter Jackson, he had a studio that created a bunch of visual effects, right, for the Frighteners, and then that went on to be like all the like cloth and like fur effects for a bunch of
I think that's Weta. I think Weta is his company that he started. And yeah, I mean, you look at the practical effects. I mean, even going all the way back to Bad Taste, which is like a really, you know, rough looking film is as far as all things are concerned, but still, just very ambitious. Almost like, I mean, the original Evil Dead, he said, was like the inspiration for it. And you can definitely feel that kind of vibe. But then going over to like Dead Alive, the visual effects get even slicker. They're still practical. But then, yeah, all of his tricks and everything that he did for Lord of the Rings, you know, forced perspective and all that kind of stuff mixed with, you know, the special effects. It's, I think that's one thing that, like, you know, we can kind of get stuck in this camp of like, no, we don't want any digital effects, or no, we don't, when it's like, well, we really want a good blending of the two, right? It's like
Yeah.
you do want some special effects, but you also want the practical there, and the special effects can, you know, the computer effects can, you know, help clean up some of those practical effects or enhance them, you know?
Right.
I
Yeah,
mean, you know,
we just
go ahead.
watched Nightmare 4 tonight, and there's a lot of great practical effects, but there are a couple of digital effects as well. You know,
Yeah.
they were using some
Mhm.
green screen technology in that movie, like,
Yeah.
you know. So
I think Nightmare 4, like, I don't know if you saw my franchise ranking that I put out about a month ago
I
for
did,
the
yeah.
series.
Did I sway
That
your opinion on Wes Craven's New Nightmare? Because I know we talked about it, but I didn't know
I
you held it in such high regard like I do.
oh, I mean, I've always loved it, like, since I probably didn't see it until I know I didn't see it in the theater. I was probably a little too young to see it in the theater. I probably saw it
Mhm.
right around the time that, like, Scream came out, something like that on
Okay.
VHS.
Yeah.
I've always really enjoyed it, and, I guess, like, for me, it's sort of like, I mean, you know, it's in a way, it's like the original Legacy sequel, and,
Mhm.
but I think that definitely with, you know, people talking about it a lot more, you know, that conversation that we had for sure was a good time to just like kind of dive into it a little bit better. And I
Right.
really enjoyed Dylan's New Nightmare as well, so it sort of like helped me have an even bigger appreciation for that story. So I think the surprise for me going back and watching them is, I thought that part two was going to be in like my top 3 or 4, and part two kind of slid back just on this last watch through. I don't know
Mhm.
what I felt like. I think what I said in the ranking is that it seemed like there was a lot of the same, like Jesse just kind of saying the same stuff from scene to scene. Like, I don't know what's
Mhm.
happening to me, and there just wasn't like, again, kind of like what we were saying about Abigail. It was almost like this would have been a cooler, you know, shorter movie, or they needed to add something to really like flesh it out a little bit better. But man, part four was
There
like,
also there also weren't a lot of cool deaths in number 2. You know, you got a lot of
mhm.
off-screen deaths and stuff like that. But yeah, part 4, man, we watched it again tonight, and like, I don't think my wife had seen it, or she's seen it. She'd only seen it like once, because we always kind of talk about all the great ones, right? Like, quote
Mhm.
unquote great ones, and those are the ones we kind of watch all the time. But we watched 4 tonight, and she was like, "I think this might be better than part 3, because like the deaths are just kind of a lot cooler. You know, like you've got Freddy's death is definitely way cooler at the end, with all the like arms reaching out of him and stuff.
Yeah.
The big torso that they built with all the people underneath it. Like, uh, you've
Yeah,
got kind of
the
like this cast of characters that are just being taken out one by one by one by one until Alice gets her powers, you know? Like,
yeah, everything, you know, Rennie Harlan did that one, right?
yeah. While we were watching it, I was looking up his filmography, and I was like, you know why this is good? Die Hard 2. Fucking, you know.
Cliffhanger,
Yeah,
right?
cliffhanger.
Strangers Chapter 1. Well, no, forget that last one.
Yeah, we won't talk about that.
But yeah, I just the ambition in part 4 is really huge. You know, I feel like, of
Oh
course,
yeah.
Dream Warriors is awesome. Like, I do love Dream Warriors, but it's really fun to see like them let it fly a little bit more, I think, in part 4.
Right.
And you know, Alice in that one, like her whole suiting up to go fight Freddy, where she puts on like a charm from each one of
The
her friends, like,
montage. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
eat that shit up. I don't
Oh, it's
care
so
what
good.
movie it is. I love that shit. And
Yeah.
I mean, the practical effects, they're just really inventive. And that's like, you know, the true beginning probably of that like MTV Freddy, I would say, is part
Hmm.
4. I
For
mean,
sure. Yeah.
he's funny and everything in part 3, but I don't think people knew he was going to be funny. I think by the time 4 came around, they're like, all right, we're ready for like all the quips and all the silliness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After 3 other movies, like he was a pop icon at that point, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of the effects in that movie that really stood out for me. the little head meatballs on the pizza.
Oh my
There's a really
gosh.
there's
Yeah.
there's some that don't look very good, but then when they would like zoom in on it, it's the actual actor's face and stuff, like so
Yeah.
good.
Like they did the makeup and like did the
Mhm.
composition of the shot. Yeah, it's
So
it's
good. The giant like
disturbing. Yeah.
blade that goes into his head and stuff. Like
Yeah.
and then like what's her name? The tall gal's death, when he turns her into the bug when she's working
Oh
out and he
yeah.
crashes her in the rich motel. Like that death's so fucking cool. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't
That's
know.
like
I think it might be better than 3 because like 3 has like some pretty cheese ass deaths. Like when he picks the little D&D kid up and just kind of like, and then when he just stabs Nancy, like I don't know.
yeah.
Fucking John Saxon just gets fucking thrown onto a thing.
Yeah, so is
It's
that
fine.
do you think people love 3? Do you think people give 3 the edge because it brings Nancy back and brings John Saxon back? Or is
I
it
don't think
Dawkins?
so.
Do you think it's all Dawkins?
Yeah, it's all Dawkins. It's all the bass player from Dawkins, who's now the bass player for the Journey band.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is that he switched?
I call it the
He's
Journey band because there's only like one remaining member, like the lead guitarist or something.
yeah, well, yeah,
Yeah.
Journey. I mean, come on. What the only Journey song that I really like is Any Way You Want It from the film Caddyshack.
Yeah, that's good.
From the
That's good. Yeah,
because that one
yeah,
actually rips. All the other Journey songs are just ballady, or at least all the ones on the radio. Get that.
I think people like number 3 so much because it's so different from the first 2 films. Like it feels like it actually has a big budget, which the first 2 movies don't at all.
Yeah.
And then it's Freddy like toying with his victims again, right? Like he toyed with them a lot in number 1, and he just like toyed with Jesse in the second one, but
Yeah.
toying with everybody, like having a big cast of characters again that were all like ready to be on the chopping block, I think. And definitely the television scene doesn't hurt it at all. So
Sure. Yeah. Everyone loves the welcome to prime
Yeah.
time, bitch.
Yeah.
Everyone loves
Yeah.
that. Right?
Yeah.
The one line that Robert got to improv there. I think.
Yeah. One of my
Yeah,
favorite parts is on, I think it's the beginning of Freddy's Dead. Well, it has like a Nietzsche quote, like "those who dare to dream to sleep" or whatever, and then it has Freddy's quote, "Welcome to prime time, bitch." So good.
they're showing their hand there, right, with Freddy's Dead.
Yeah, yeah.
I do love like the Goo Goo Dolls song that opens up the movie. I think the soundtrack on Freddy's Dead's pretty fun there.
Yeah, it's good. The soundtrack for part 4 is fucking banging, dude.
Oh yeah, that too.
Oh yeah, so good.
Yeah, and gosh, when you were talking about Freddy's Dead, my mind went blank. That's just what Freddy's Dead is gonna do to you. Just you're talking about the quote from Nietzsche. There was something I was gonna say, it totally left. But yeah, Freddy, like that was an interesting time there because like Jason's kind of cooling off. Michael has been like missing for years until like 1988 or something like that. Probably the year that part 4 came out, right?
Part 4 came out.
So and Freddy was just like, king of the hill then. He was, I mean,
right.
MTV Freddy full bore. Part 4 is the one with like the sand shark Freddy, right?
Yeah. She's like, her mom gives her sleeping pills and she's like, dream somewhere fun, and she just wakes up on the beach. Yeah.
So great to see. Even
I've got
Freddy
I've got a sweet piece where I did the where he's putting the sunglasses on.
Yeah.
And I made it all kind of like retro. Yeah, it's really cool.
I totally know what you're talking about. Yeah, it's a great shot. Yeah. It's got that like rad 80s kind of look with the colors and everything. Yeah,
it's like the squiggles and the glasses and stuff.
Yeah. Hell yeah, man. So yeah, maybe Lee Cronin is working on a little something new for Freddy. I know our next guest is working on a little something new for Freddy to follow up on Dylan's New Nightmare. And I saw, Robert, if you're still in the chat, I saw you put in there that Cecil needs the link, so I sent it to him on Twitter, and hopefully he got it.
Nice.
because I can't
What do
text
you
while
want?
I'm hosting the show. It's the one thing I can't do while I'm hosting the show is like, sorry, everyone, wait while I text.
Do you want to check out some art? I think I
Yes,
can share my
absolutely.
screen here. Let's see.
Yeah, guys. So just to, remind you or to let everyone know that came in a little bit later, Cole was watching one of the earlier episodes of the show, put together like basically a design, like a, kind of like a logo for just the Davey Deathray channel. And then we started chatting about putting together some other stuff, but I have not seen any of this. I saw that initial logo that he put together, but this is all going to be, first time reaction here.
Can you see that?
Okay. Yeah, I can add it here. Let me do this. There we go. All right. Hell yeah. And I think you've got control there, right? Do you still have control of that screen?
Yes.
Perfect. I love this design here.
Yeah, there we go. That's the first thing I drew. Yeah, I was just watching the show and this kind of sprung to mind. So I got the headphones in there and
Hell yeah, yeah.
the ubiquitous instrument here. Kind of wanted it to make it look a little bit like the Scream knife, the stab knife.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, it's one of those things like when I first saw it, it's like, on the one hand, you're like, oh my God, it's just so sweet when somebody, is thinking about you when they're being creative or whatever. And then to see just I love your style. I love the roughness of it all. And guys, if you haven't checked out Cole's art, there are links in the description below so you can check out his WordPress and his DeviantArt page and everything like that. I got to put your link though for your t-shirts and everything. I don't know if you have just one link that goes to all the designs that you've created there. But yeah, I love your style here, and it's all digital, right? Everything you're working on.
Yeah. I switched over to digital a long time ago, like 10 years ago, and just never looked back. So it's just
one of those things.
It's so much cheaper, and no fuss.
And it's like we were saying earlier, like with the digital effects and films and stuff, it's like you still have to draw it. Like it's just another tool. Just like I remember like Todd McFarlane saying like people were giving him shit for going digital, and he's like, a pencil and a piece of paper is a tool. Like now I'm just using a different tool. Like
exactly.
There's not really a difference here.
Yeah, you still use a lot of the same skills that you've taught yourself over the years,
Yeah.
So. So speaking of t-shirts, I was thinking we could put some of these on t-shirts.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. I think this one will transfer really well. Yeah.
Yeah. Alley Girl loves it. Yeah, it's a great design. I love the colors too. Those are our high school colors as well, which is great because it works for everything.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
It's just blood and black. It just works.
Yeah. I'm just going to use a lot of red most of the time. So get ready for it. All right. So the next one I want to show off is the titular design for tonight's show.
Oh my God, that is incredible. Holy shit. That is wild.
Yeah, boy.
Oh my God, I look so cool. How did you make me look so cool?
I mean, I had the clay, and
I've got more chiseled features. It's great. I do definitely have more of a vampiric look. Yeah, that's awesome, man.
It looks like you've been staying up late and eating well. So
yeah, a great shit-eating grin. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is too cool. Everyone's loving it in the chat. I don't know if you have that pulled up, but I got to share these.
I do have the chat. Yeah. Yeah, I did like the cityscape behind you and everything too. Kind of sketch that in real quick.
Yeah,
to make
that's
it look
awesome.
Like a late night show,
Yeah, I got
the jacket.
Foz says
got the jacket.
Yeah, the jacket, the shirt, it's all like that. It's amazing. I feel I'm blushing over here. And then Paz says reminds me of Vice City, and I can see what he's saying.
Nice. Oh yeah,
'Cause
totally.
because and the fonts, I think like sometimes on those Grand Theft Autos, they kind of had that Godfather-esque font, which the Late Night with the Devil font is very similar.
Right, yeah.
Lost
All
Boys
right.
Fang, says Jamie.
Yeah.
This is way too cool.
Yeah, so we got that on a shirt.
Amazing.
Sweet. Yeah. All right.
That is awesome.
Let's go. I got 2 more that I want to show you guys.
All right.
So I did one for Movie Punks.
Oh my God. This is unreal. I look at I'm all tatted up. I love that face, that like, well, this is it.
This is it. Foz looks like he's passed out drunk.
That's amazing. Foz, what do you think? You're in the there you go. What?
So I don't know if you
How
can see
cool
your
is
shirt.
that?
Your shirt says the night he came home.
That's amazing.
Your tats evil dies on the knuckles. I know how much of a fan you are.
Yeah, you know, I do.
Yeah.
I do like some Halloween kills. The Jason mask, the spider. This is amazing. I'm trying to get in a little closer. And Foz, is that like a cassette shirt that he's got?
Yeah,
or
it's like a
boombox?
boombox. Yeah, it's a boombox.
Hell yeah! Everyone is eating this up.
You got Deathray and Raimi on your patches.
Amazing. Oh my gosh, I can't. My face hurts from smiling. This is way too cool.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah. This one was a blast. I like doing these colors, you know.
Yeah.
I work a lot in like monochromatic color scheme, which is kind of like I'll just run with like one color and then do some accents with it. But being able to do stuff like this where I get to run with a bunch of colors, super fun.
Yeah. Yeah, it helps it stand out a little bit, but it's still got that, you know, the focus is on like the blues here with that.
Yeah,
I really like that kind of pink, strawberry pink, like edging.
Yeah, it really pops.
The shadow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tyler says the caricatures are spot on. Hell yeah. Very Sons of Anarchy is what he says.
Nice. It looks like you guys are out in front of the convenience store or something in a Clerks movie.
Exactly. We're too cool for school.
Yeah.
We're outside of the convenience store and we're talking about punk rock movies.
Yeah, totally. All right. So we got that one on a shirt. Ooh.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, I can't wait to get now guys, let us know in the chat which shirt are you gonna buy day one when these hit. I want to know.
All right, and last but not least, we got movie date. Davey and Kate.
My God. Dude. Oh my gosh. That is beautiful. Guys in the chat, give it up to Cole for look at his style. Not one design, like what's really cool is in each design there's a little bit of a different, you know, tinge to what you do. Yeah, man, the detail here. I can't wait to look at like high-res images of all of this. Oh, I can't. I hopefully, I don't know if Kate's watching right now. I know she's like trying to take care of some other stuff in the house, but hopefully she's seeing this because this is incredible. Damn. And Antona says this one is so creepy. Love the theater seats too. I think the theater seats are a really nice touch. Like we're the only ones there.
The popcorn bucket full of goo.
Well, yeah, there's like an eyeball and a bone sticking out. That's amazing. Yeah, Big Rod says your art is amazing. Yeah, guys.
Oh, thanks,
Cole. you can get he's got t-shirts available. Cole works on a whole bunch of board games as well, so he's out and about. This is what he does for a living. So if you guys have any projects that you're working on, or you need art for something, you got to reach out to my guy here.
Yeah, hit me up. I do cover work for comics, for albums, movies, books, whatever.
Yeah, and hopefully you'll be working with our next guest here sometime in the near future on a bit of a graphic novel idea he's got. So yeah, that would be amazing to have you guys get together on that. And then Kate was able to jump in. She loves it.
Yeah,
that looks so good.
Yeah.
Unreal. I want that to replace our wedding photo. Or at least be right next to it. Come on.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and
cool.
Cecil saying he definitely needs. Amazing.
I also wanted to share some of my other just kind of more recent pieces here. This is just all this work is just stuff I've done for fun. I try to draw every day, so
yeah.
We got Red Sonja in the classic Frazetta style. You mentioned Frazetta earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I love me some, guy, like person on top of like a pile of corpses composition.
Yeah. Now I'm still seeing the t-shirt there. I don't know if it's brought up on a different screen. Yeah.
Let me check real quick. I think I have to just share a different window. Oh, it's me again.
And there it is. The fun of the live show. We get to work it out with our amazing audience.
All right, so I got a new screen up. Okay.
Yeah. Man, the monochromatic. And just that really cool, like the splatter that you've got on there is great.
I always try to add some little, just noise going on. It makes the piece more interesting.
Yeah, and it definitely, I think it, as far as, when you're drawing digitally, it just gives it a little bit more of that analog, like, just that grittier look,
Yeah, I'll actually go in and like, you can tell on this piece, if you're looking at high res, like I'll go in and I'll actually add like a noise layer to make it look more like it's on paper a little bit. Stuff like that. But yeah, this is the kind of stuff I would do for like some of the comic book covers and stuff I've done. Like this level of work.
Yeah, it's gorgeous, man.
I'll switch over to a ring wraith that I did.
Good old ring wraiths.
Yeah. Yeah, I just like how creepy they are,
Yeah.
They're so kind of ominous and just hanging out in the forest.
Yeah, they are. Like, I felt like when, because I didn't read the Harry Potter books, but when I saw the movies and they had the Dementors or whatever, I'm just,
oh yeah,
no, but I'm saying the Dementors and Harry Potter, I'm like, you guys just directly from Lord of the Rings? Like, we didn't even try to make it different.
Pretty much everything in Harry Potter things feels like it's derivative.
Yeah. Star Wars.
I mean, almost everything's derivative from Lord of the Rings, though, right?
Sure. Yeah. It is an OG. Ultimately. That's what Tyler says. Lord of the Rings is life.
Is life.
Gavin says your style would go great with some Mandy type movies.
Ooh, yeah, totally. Yep. Those are the kind of movie covers I want to do for sure. Here's another ring wraith. I was kind of in the like purplish mood here. There we go. Yeah.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Now, how long a piece like this with all this going on, like how long does this usually take you to put together something like this detailed?
I think this one took me about like 6 hours. But like that last one, if I go back to the last one here, It took a little less time just because most of the stuff was just like heavy blacks.
Mm-hmm.
I was just kind of like throwing a lot of black at the canvas, and then like maybe like 3 or 4 different layers of color. But in this other one where he's holding the sword, I like spent a lot of time like actually drawing out all the details of the leaves
Mm-hmm.
and the ground and all the rest of the trees and stuff like that, you know.
Yeah,
So
the
it takes
cloak
me
is
a little
very
longer to do
detailed.
that. Yeah. But most of it is like just trick of the eye kind of stuff. Like I'm using different brushes and adding texture with like color
Mm-hmm.
to like make it look more detailed than it actually is, I guess.
Oh, gotcha. Just the way you
Yeah.
color it in with the shading and everything.
Right. Yeah. Let's switch over to
My guy.
your guy. I just wanted to do like guys in masks this day, I think.
That's it. I mean, the blue with the orange, it's got that, very
Yeah.
reminiscent of the look of the original film. The backlighting is really cool. Everyone loves seeing Michael just standing there. It's one of the things he does best.
Yeah, if you saw this guy in the alley behind your house, like it's not a good day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And Raymond.
I love the the contrast between the orange and the blue here. So amazing.
Mhm. I think that's one of the things like with Halloween that is, one of the reasons why people love it so much is, Dean Cundy's cinematography and the way the original film was lit, like all that. I just think it's like carried for now going on almost 50 years. That even with some of the lesser sequels, when people think of Michael Myers, they think of, how simple and elegant that first film was.
Right.
And this shot right here is very reminiscent of, those aspects that Carpenter and the team brought together there.
Big Rod in the chat asked me if I sell prints. Yes, I do. They're kind of right now. It's kind of hard to update all my prints just because I do so many pieces. But most of my stuff you can get like through my TeePublic site because like they do on-demand printing for me and drop shipping, and so all my designs there you can get prints of through their site
On TeePublic.
on TeePublic. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Big Rod, I'll have to add that link to the description. So let's see here. I think I may be able to get it in there right after the stream here. So keep an eye out. Just reload once the stream is done, Big Rod, or hit me up with a DM somewhere and I can get you that link. So you can go ahead and purchase something there. And look at this guy.
I got the other man of little words here. Like I said, I think I was just in the mood to draw guys in masks this day. So
yeah. Well, and I love that, again, just like the colors that you pick for these characters, they just go so well. And a really good likeness here. Like I like the Jason look is a little bit more like that Part 6 kind of era. I really like that. That's kind of my jam.
He's kind of got like the workman's jacket on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I really like this piece because like it's really dark everywhere else, and then you just got like this splash of white a little bit on the mask.
Mm-hmm.
Just really pops there in the center.
Yeah.
So cool.
We'll probably get more Freddy before we get more Jason with the way things are going.
Yeah. We don't talk about that. There's certain things we don't talk about at the dinner table, okay?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it just seems like as the days go on, the news gets worse for the Friday the 13th fans, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is awesome, man.
Yeah, a little more of that splatter you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Gotta do the splatter. And then the last one I wanted to show you was my Ring piece. We just watched The Ring. Like I was saying, we were watching those walking sim.
Yeah.
I got inspired here to do the ring. Samara looking all creep.
That image of her climbing out of the television, man, that's like still one of the most disturbing things. I don't know what it is.
She's all like twisted. Yeah, badass.
Yeah, and it's in the original version and in the American version, it's like just as creepy and off-putting. She's got that hair in front of her, you know. Yeah, looks beautiful.
Yeah, they always like to hide her face, which is fine, but I really like it when they actually show her face a little bit. It's just a little creepier. Yeah, that's what I wanted to do on this. I wanted to be kind of peeking out.
Yeah, and you brought in that kind of like that cold bluish green kind of look that they used, you know, throughout.
Yeah, this is an example of what I was talking about how like a lot of the work I like to do is just doing like one main color over everything, and then just doing like values of that color. The monochromatic, you know.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love all the like the black like sinew dripping off of the TV as well, like kind of like with her hair, but then there's like the, you know, that's a really cool look.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's even dripping from the top of the frame as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just like a texture that I made real quick and then just threw on there.
Beautiful.
I made sure to give it like the old 80s TV.
Yeah, that's a Jamie was saying. I love that it's an old CRT TV. Yeah. Yeah, it's got like a knob there on the top.
Yeah.
That's old school.
Yeah,
beautiful,
cool.
Man. Yeah. So guys, you can check out Cole's art in the links in the description below. I know I totally biffed it by not having the TeePublic one there, but I will add it to the video once everything's aired. And yeah, if you guys are interested in, you know, purchasing any of Cole's art, you know, just shoot me a DM. I can send you that link directly if you'd like. And there's a couple other links in the description right now, so you can check out the, you know, the WordPress and the Deviant art and all that kind of good stuff as well.
Yeah.
So.
Or if you want to talk about any projects you guys have, you know, I'm always open to talk about stuff and get something going. So
yeah, and what's the best way if I put in your like Instagram or something like that? Is that the best way for people to reach you, or do you want?
Yeah, you can DM me on any social or just email me. Yeah, everything is just my name, Cole MUNRO-CHITTY. So perfect.
There you go. I'll add it to the description as well. But yeah, guys, you can find Cole on Instagram and reach him there if you'd like to, you know, have something put together for you. If you want to have a picture of you and your wife drawn as zombies in a movie theater, or you want a picture of yourself drawn as a vampire, Cole's your guy. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Oh man, you know, it's like I wish I could really like. I can't wait to really look at the high res images and just like pour over them. While I'm hosting the show, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's all so overwhelming. But yeah, so beautiful, man. I really love what you did. Totally blew my socks off with that, and everyone in the chat is so pumped on it as well. So that's really cool to see that enthusiasm for sure.
Hell yeah. Well, right on, guys. I'm gonna get out, but I've got a couple of dates coming up. I'm gonna be at GalaxyCon in Raleigh, North Carolina on July 25th through the 28th. Come and see me at the con. I'll have a booth set up there selling prints and stuff like that. But yeah, otherwise you can find me online. So
awesome. Well, thank you so much again, Cole. Yeah, guys, check out the links in the description below. Grab some of Cole's art, and I'll let you know when those designs are up on the shop and ready to purchase, so you guys can grab one of those beautiful Davey Deathray designs. I know people are going to want that movie punks. I know Foz, you're going to get some of those. I know you will. Awesome, man. Well, it's been great catching up and chatting about movies, and I can't wait to have you on again and catch up then as well. Have a great time at the con. If I don't speak to you, I'll speak to you in between now and then, because we got to deal with the shirts.
Hell yeah.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much for dropping in. Have a great rest of your night.
Cool. Take care. Thanks for having me.
Take care.
All right. Bye.
All right, y'all. Well, holy crap. That was unbelievable. And I just disappeared for some reason. Where am I? There I am. All right. Yeah, doing a live show. This is just what happens sometimes. So yeah, guys, I am so pumped with those designs. I can't wait to get them in your hands. Yeah, wow, that's really cool. I'm still just sort of beside myself because again, it was the first time I've ever seen him. So just catching up with it all. But we have kept our second guest waiting for just a little bit. Luckily, Cecil is in the same time zone I'm in, so it's just mid-afternoon. No, I'm joking. It's about 8:20, so it's not so bad. But let's go ahead and get my guy Cecil Laird here on the show. What's happening, Cecil? How are you doing tonight, man?
I'm good, man. 20 minutes is too long to make a guest wait.
It is. It is. It's one of the things that you know, I got to figure out on the live show. That's why, you know, at the beginning I was asking, should I just bring them on at the same time? And then you can just
I think that would make the most sense because I can shut up, but at least feel like I'm involved.
Yeah. Well, and then you just like can bounce, especially if the two people have something in common. Or
I was hoping to meet him anyway. I still haven't made a connection with him, so I was hoping you were going to do that, but nope.
Oh, well, lesson learned. All right, guys, moving forward, we'll bring both the guests on at the same time. I'll be able to bounce that same question to both folks. Nobody has to wait. And honestly, like the show. What's that?
Sorry, Dice. Incorrect. Cecil cannot be quiet. Yeah, Dice isn't wrong.
Well, and that way
I just interrupted you, so clearly Dice.
Oh no, you're fine. If you're interacting with the chat, I'll take it. That's totally cool.
Always too much so.
But yeah, I mean, that way it just, you know, I think the show would probably run, you know, not quite as long, so it would be, you know, better for everybody, especially, you know, when I do have people out from the East Coast on and they wait forever. But really appreciate you being patient with us.
Oh yeah, man. Look, I wouldn't have said anything if I didn't love you and didn't think we could just have a little fun with it. That's all.
Awesome. Well, yeah, man. So I gotta ask you, because I talked to Cole about it, all the stuff with the, you know, people are speculating that now like Lee Cronin is working on a Nightmare on Elm Street film just because there was a script with a scratched out title.
We don't know that at all.
I know but isn't it funny that that's what people say?
That's what they fucking said about Blumhouse a year ago. They're like, oh, the Blumhouse is developing a Nightmare on Elm Street movie. We know. Nope, you were wrong. And no, it's the same thing. It's just a different day. Look, as someone that is not necessarily plugged into the franchise, but someone that is very much trying to get plugged into the franchise and is 117 pages into his effort of getting plugged into the franchise, there's nothing certain right now. The Lee Cronin thing is up in the air, but there was, I can't remember the exact example, but there was another director that had a secret Blumhouse project that ended up being something completely different. So it's just, Blumhouse is never going to say, nope, it's not Nightmare on Elm Street, because they're going to want people to continue to feed that monster. So I personally don't think it's a Nightmare on Elm Street thing. But that could just be wishful thinking on my part as well. I have a reason for not wanting it to be one.
Yeah. Well, and I'm kind of like right there with you where like for this, I mean, I'm like, well, I want Cecil to have his day here with this thing. You know, I just wouldn't hold my breath because it seems like, you know, with Friday and with Nightmare on Elm Street, it's just like, I'm not going to believe anything until, you know, they've full on done a video to talk about the movie that they're making. Like, because even with everything we got about Crystal Lake for however long that's been drawn out for, and then boom, it's just dead like that. So, you know, we're living in an interesting era.
Very much so. Very much so. But yeah, you know, I'm working on something that hopefully someone in the chat brought up DNN2. Dice said only 117 pages. I'm at 117 pages, and I am about to start the final confrontation. So this first version of Dylan's New Nightmare 2 is going to probably end up at about 150 pages that I'm going to need to chop it down to a manageable 120 or so. But Alley Girl said, bring on DNN2. Can't wait. Thank you, Alley Girl. But yeah, you know, there's I have a lot that I'm trying to accomplish with this script, and if Lee Cronin is making a Nightmare movie, that's going to throw a big wrench into the system. So I'm hoping that's not the case. Although Lee did a good job with Rise, right? So, but you know, even though he did a good job, it's still my least favorite Evil Dead movie. So,
me too.
I just, you know, I'll see what Lee is cooking. I'm just hoping it's not Nightmare.
Yeah, I hope with him it's something that's just, I mean, when they talk about like an ancient evil, I'm like, well, this is great. It could be, they could be bringing back some sort of like folk character from hundreds of years ago or something like that. That's not a property that we already know. I think that maybe somebody like Lee, after being able to, you know, do work within the Evil Dead sphere, should get a chance to kind of breathe life into something that's not, you know, necessarily an existing IP.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm hoping it's going to be. So I think that would be a smart way to go. Yeah, Dice, to answer the question, yes, I am writing it to be the conclusion of the story. I have a lot of original stories that I want to tell, and so I want to finish Dylan's New Nightmare 2 so I can go about doing that.
Yeah, Cecil, you are, you know, out of all the people I've known in my life, I don't think I've ever met anyone that is a straight up idea machine the way that you are. It's like every time we hang out, we'll be driving to a movie or something like that. And Cecil will be like, all right, well, here are like the, you know, 17 irons I have in the fire right now. And it's like, oh my God, like, and they're like, you know, well thought ideas. And I know where I want to take this and I know where I want to, it's just like, it's amazing. How do you keep, like, I mean, have you always been like, since you were a little kid, were you know, always creative in that sort of way? Or did you sort of like hit a stride at some point in your life where you're like, this is something that I really want to do as far as screenwriting and storytelling, and I'm just going to get all these ideas kind of cooking, you know, all at once?
I've always been someone that enjoyed telling stories. Like I always enjoyed the writing process if it was creative in school. My creative writing courses were always my favorite because I got to just have fun and do what I wanted. You know, I read a lot of comics growing up, starting when I turned 13 and Superman died. Well, 12 and Superman died. And I just followed comics ever since. And so I've always loved writing because it's a form of entertainment, right? My goal in life has always been to get a job where I can entertain people, whether I'm writing, whether I'm directing, whether I'm acting, whatever it be. I just want to entertain people. But the writing and directing portion of it allows a bit more control and B, a bit more of me, because it's my idea, it's my story, it's my script. And the fun thing is when people connect with it, right? So I will reveal to you, Davey, no one else knows this, but I literally just finished recording a special commentary. And I'm not going to make this announcement anywhere else except here because it doesn't need to be announced. But one of the special features on the Blu-ray is a Fredheads commentary. So we got 3 of the key people from the Fredheads movie, and they're doing a commentary for Dylan's New Nightmare. And when we recorded that literally earlier today. And when we were on the call, I let them know a few things that are occurring in my Dylan's New Nightmare 2 version 1 script, and they had some wonderful reactions. And to see their reactions as massive Freddy fans, I was like, okay, because I was thinking, I'm like, this is going to be awesome for Freddy fans. Freddy fans are going to love this conclusion if it happens. But this conclusion, this particular version, is very dependent on whether or not the studio makes it. I'm writing this as a very expensive version of the story, and then I have to write version 2, which is a more manageable version that we can film. But right now, I'm writing the ideal version, which also happens to be something else that Nightmare fans would really love to see. So the fact that 3 hardcore Freddy fans reacted the way they did to the things that I've got brewing in this script really made me happy and excited. So that's kind of why I ended up sticking with wanting to write, because of that reaction, right? Everyone's got a reason for it. And some people like money. Some people, I mean, comedians, right? They get on stage because they love the reaction. Yeah. Same thing with storytellers ultimately. And that's the thing. Like, I love the reaction we're getting for DNN and the desire for DNN 2. So I want to do right by these Freddy fans and make it the coolest fucking Freddy story I can imagine. And so, yeah, all of it just boils down to wanting to have fun while also wanting to entertain people at the same time.
Yeah. And being able to, you know, play within that, you know, right now you're able to play in a sandbox that you know so well, being a fan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's the thing. It's funny because I didn't go into any of this, DNN 1 or 2, thinking like, oh man, I know Freddy inside and out. Like, if anyone's the expert, it's me. No, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that know finer details and remember certain things better than me or whatever. But Nightmare were the movies that I watched repeatedly growing up. So I have them all committed to memory, essentially. And I just loved the idea of making a sequel to Wes Craven's New Nightmare and now expanding on that story that I started with DNN 1. It just makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I mean, just being able to play in the world is a lot of fun as a writer and stuff. So I don't know. Sorry, I'm getting a little.
No, you're. Hey,
I'm trying to keep up on the comments too. So.
Oh no, you're all good. I can share some of these as well. Yeah. So now that you know you have you know, after doing the original Dylan's New Nightmare and then working on this you know, on the sequel, are you more comfortable writing this time around? Like, you know, everything that you kind of learned from the process of writing the first one, does it boost your confidence moving forward?
That's actually a really great question, Davey. And that's not, I don't mean that to sound patronizing as it may have sounded. I break myself down a little bit too much.
I think you're still mad at me because I made you wait. So I'm still freaking out about that in my head.
The reason I say that is because I don't want you to think that I'm mad at you about that. I was literally just pulling your dick a little bit.
It is a good friendly reminder though.
Shit. So anyway, what was your question? Because I did have an honest answer to it.
So, you know, I know that the writing process for the first Dylan's New Nightmare, you had a little bit of extra time because of COVID, right. But like, is there an added confidence, like a boost of that?
Okay. Yeah. Again, great question. So it's funny because when I wrote the first one, it had been a number of years since I'd written anything. And when I wrote the first one, I thought it was pretty good. And luckily, Vince and Miko both thought it was good too. We did, after the COVID delay, we did go in and kind of fix some stuff up and make it even stronger than it was to begin with. But yeah, I think after the response to the first one, I do feel more confident writing the second, but mostly because I've put in the time to think about how it should happen. Like, I do write quickly, but only when I know exactly where I need to go. Like, I will never write a script without having an outline beforehand. In this case, I didn't have a traditional outline in an outline format, but I did have 4.25 or 4.5 pages of single-spaced notes. Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. These are the things that I need to accomplish in each act. And basically now I just need to take those guidelines and fill everything in with dialogue. And sequence of events, because in the outline there's a confrontation, this person gets knocked out, this happens, but I didn't write down necessarily how it all happens, right? So that's for when I'm actually sitting down and tickety-tacketing on the keys. So the fun thing about writing for me always has been that when I write, the way that I write is I don't necessarily close my eyes, but the equivalent of closing my eyes and just watching the movie play out in front of me, and then I write what I saw. You know, the dialogue kind of comes to me as I go, and that's the way of it. But doing it this time for DNN 2, knowing the things that I wanted to do in this ideal version, outside of 2 different points in the script, everything's been flowing very quickly. Like over the course of 4 days, I went from 36 pages to like 108 pages in like 5 days. And it took me like a week and a half to do the first 36 pages because I got through the first chunk of pages in the first 2 days. And then I hit a place where I'm like, I need to figure out how I want to accomplish what I want to accomplish. And I don't just want to rush through it and have it just kind of, this happens because it happens. So I figured that out finally. And then I went back and I continued and did 36 to 108. And then by the time I got to 117, I was at the point where I'm like, okay, now we're in the third act. Now I didn't know exactly how we get to these points that I said ahead of time. And so I managed to get there after thinking about it for 3 days. Thought about it for 3 days, worked it through with Robert the Wolfman. You know, we sat in the garage and we just bounced some stuff back and forth. And I was like, what about this? What about this? And he would be like, well, maybe not, you know, kind of thing. And ultimately it helped me arrive at the place I needed to be to have it finished. And so now, once we finish, I'm going to go in and hopefully finish the last 20 to 30 pages of the script. So I guess the short answer to your question is yes, I do feel more confident writing it this time. But only because people seem to react well to the first installment.
Yeah, and you know, I hung out over there at your spot, just right behind your left shoulder, I think, on
literally right where this little table is. Yep.
Yeah, hanging out right now, and the gremlin was hanging out back there with me. Yeah, and it's really cool. The you know, it seems like you're sort of, you know, fueled by having just activity, you know, around you, instead of just, you know, I think sometimes when people write or maybe people just, the perception of writers is, you know, it's like the Stephen King character that sits in a room by themselves and is like all, you know, moody, and they write everything by them, you know, in solitude. But it is really cool because, you know, I bring a little something over to work on as well. And Robert's working on something, and it's really cool to just be like, hey, we're just all hanging out, like getting shit done and not
being
distracting
creative.
each other too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I love that. Yeah. And I'm so glad that you came out to do it. And that's why I was like hoping we could do it again, because I knew I needed to finish this. And the way I work is I don't necessarily need to work with a group to get things done, but working with a group in the same room, I think everyone helps. The fact that Robert is painting miniatures here, and you're working on stuff for your show here, and I'm just, you know, writing here. We don't need to necessarily know or be involved in everything that we're doing, but the fact that we're all doing it together, for me, it's like the fact that you guys are here, I'm going to keep going. Whereas I may stop at some point and be like, okay, I'll finish this later. When other people are here and like it's stupid. Well, it's stupid to some people, I'll say. But I'm in my early 40s, and I'm a big believer of energy. And when everyone's creative energy is all kind of like flowing in the same room and like feeding on each other, I feel it only makes things better. You know, it helps us focus. We get some good music going, some really cool movie scores, so we're not distracted by the words, but we get some good, you know, ambiance, and we put up, you know, we get the lighting going, even though we're not recording. We just get some cool mood lighting going. And it's just, I just am a big believer in that, you know, making it an atmosphere conducive to creativity. And when other people are there, I think it only helps. Even if you're not working on the same thing, the fact that you're all trying to be creative together, everyone feeds on that energy. I know Tyler probably feels the same way, because I know Tyler's a very creative dude, and he's helping with not only Batman Noir, but I am hoping he's going to help with Dylan's New Nightmare 2, and we're in the process of that. I need to send him a bit more information about something, but he's actually going to start working on something for Dylan's New Nightmare 2 that will be in either version of the movie that we end up doing. So yes, again, feeding on creative energy. Tyler reached out after DNN2, and he's like, hey, I think I can help improve some of the special effects and stuff. And even though we didn't end up using it because everything was already kind of done and stuff, I very much appreciated the reach out and the demonstration of skill and the enthusiasm to be involved. You know, it's like you, Davey. You know, when you interviewed Vince and I at Gathering of the Ghouls, you were just getting started out and stuff, but I appreciated your enthusiasm so much that I was like, yo, let me bring this dude over, and we'll have him on the stream or, you know, on the show and stuff. And I want to try and support him how I can. But like, again, it's just feeding on positive creative energy. All that, you know, a rising tide raises all boats, and a rising creative positive energy raises all of our creative boats.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you, and I think it like kind of keeps you on task. Like, you know, if I were working on something at home, I'd find like any reason to like stand up and leave the room and go pet one of my cats or whatever, you know, like just
Mhm.
all the stuff that if you're working solo, you're like, oh yeah, it'll get done. And something that, you know, if you were hanging out with some buddies, just, you know, kind of keeping on task like the way that we are, you know, it's, you can pack in so much more, you know, meaningful time working on all of that. Absolutely. And Robert's saying he's currently in the garage opening Rexes.
Yeah, we got 500 Rexes that appeared today, finally from China. They showed up in 25 boxes. So we're going to be able to fulfill all the Rex perks from the campaign. And then
Awesome.
we're going to have 300 extra Rexes to sell starting at Days of the Dead next weekend in Phoenix, where both Heather and Nico will be. So people can buy a Rex and then get it signed by both of them. It's very exciting. I did want to just point out Matt Conway art, just because it's apropos of what we're talking about. That's what I miss about not being in the studio anymore. Cecil is totally right. Again, that communal creative energy, one of my most favorite times. And I actually have a perfect example right here next to me. So I made this book with my friend David, who is producer Dave for the Horror Show channel. We made this entire comic strip book, and the entire time it was basically chasing Amy in real life, right? Where Holden and Banky are nose to nose with their desks, and one of them is drawing, the other is inking their work. And that's the way it was with Dave and I, except we were side by side. So Dave would draw the art, I would ink the art, we would write the pages together. And that sort of communal creativity, I just don't think there's a substitute for it personally.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. There is something, I think you know, hit the nail on the head with just that, you know, you feed off each other. And also I think it's one of those things where it's like, you know, the older you get, and maybe it's just me and that I've moved from place to place as I've, you know, grown up, is that, you know, you find it maybe more difficult to meet, you know, friends that you have interests with, you know, that you share interests with. And so I think there's something about doing that kind of creative work with your buddies where you're like, this just, it also makes me feel like what I'm doing and what everyone's doing is more legitimate because we're doing it together. You know, like it just feels more real than trying to do something creative alone. And, you know, I you know, coming from my musical background, you know, sometimes you sit down and to write a song and everything spills out like all at once, you know, but it's really awesome to be able to like bounce ideas off somebody, hear what direction they would take that song in, you know, with any kind of creative endeavor like that. It's just always great to see, you know, somebody might have like some insight or an idea that then propels, you know, the rest of the idea that you're working on from there on out.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And that's what I say, you know, producer Dave for a long time was my creative partner, and he still is. He just, you know, we don't live together anymore. So forgive me, I got the hiccups all of a sudden. We don't live together anymore, but when we did a lot of these creative projects. And now that Robert comes over as often as he does, we do some stuff together. But shit, I forgot, what was the thing you said? Because it'll remind me of where I was going.
Just that when somebody, like, you know, you bounce ideas off somebody and they have, you know, they might push you in a little bit of a different direction.
So that's the way I found, like, we talk about ideas, and oftentimes if you're trying to get somewhere with your idea and you present it to someone, they're like, well, what if you did this? And then you're like, in your mind, it can be anywhere from like, what the fuck? Why would you do that? All the way to, damn, that's not bad. But in any of those circumstances, you say, that's good. I don't think I'll use that, but it gives me this idea, which I think is awesome. You know, so like there's so many times where producer Dave has said something like Bracer, the character that I want to make my own personal slasher. The only reason Bracer exists is because one day producer Dave asked me, he's like, why was Forrest Gump in leg braces? And I was like, because he had actual genetic issues that caused, you know, struggles with him. And he's like, oh,
back was like a question mark.
Yeah. He's like, oh, it's not just because his mom was mean. And I'm like, no, but you know, and like that just gave me this idea that spun into an entire slasher of my own. So like, you never know where it's going to come from. And you don't want to, like, working with people, you know, And that's the other reason. That's why I try and direct the way that I do. I'm a very collaborative director, where if I bring people on set, I will generally be like, okay, guys, if you have ideas, like, let's not go overboard, right? Let's not hold up production. But if you have
Within
ideas,
reason.
let me know, you know, because
Yeah.
we're all here to make the best product we can. If you over there on sound, something occurs to you and you just come and whisper it in my ear, or my assistant director's ear, right, more appropriately, and then they're like, that's not bad, and then they lean over and they tell you, and you're like, that's not bad, let's fucking go, you know.
Yeah.
Like, that's all fine. Like, again, a creative collaborative atmosphere, I think, yields the best results. You know, a collaborative director, even if they don't end up taking anyone's opinion, if they're willing to listen and hear them out and then explain why they think their decision is the stronger decision, I think there's nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah, I mean, even like the directors that have their names so, you know, tightly attached, where we just think that, you know, they're synonymous. Like you know, you think of Star Wars, you think of George Lucas, or, you know, what, we can even bring it back to the horror. You think of Halloween, you think John Carpenter, and it's like, yeah, but it's the teams that they had put together is why the movies are so magical.
The best directors,
you know, like,
will say that. The best directors will
mean,
say, look, it's not just me. If it wasn't for everyone else involved, we wouldn't have gotten what we got.
Yeah, and I mean, even like with George Lucas, if it weren't for Ralph McQuarrie, what the hell would those movies have looked like? Like that. I mean, it seems like a lot of the imagination came from that part of the pre-production, is where, you know, all of those things that just wowed us, like as kids, you know, that's where that came from. And George brought the story. But
That's
George,
why directors
you know,
of photography don't get enough credit.
Yeah.
Stunt performers don't get enough credit, and directors of photography, I don't think get enough credit. You know, directors get most of the credit for the vision, but personally, I think that, yes, directors of photography are there to help achieve the director's vision, but I think more directors than are willing to admit lean on their directors of photography to help create that vision. I don't mind saying, like, I did have a vision for Dylan's New Nightmare, but I don't mind saying that I leaned on Ben. Like, how best do you think it would be for, like, what's the best way to achieve what I'm going for here? And he'd be like, I think maybe we try this. And I'd be like, great. You know, but that's part of directing, right? You got to lean on the people that you put into the positions, because you got to trust them. You know, you don't want to put someone in a position that you don't trust to make that kind of decision. You know what I mean? Yeah.
At some point you have to sort of take a, you know, a little bit of a leap of faith on the idea that, like, well, I brought these people in to do a job and I have to let them do the job.
Yep.
Like, if
100%.
You know, only if it's going to completely be the antithesis of my vision would I, you know, be a shit about it, you know, that kind of thing.
Right.
So I did want to get to, there were a couple questions. So Antonis had asked if there's going to be kills in DNN. Now, I know we can't give away specific spoilers. I mean, I would imagine there will be, Antonis, but I'll let Cecil answer the question.
I'll give you 3 bits of semi-cryptic information. I'll say there's an homage. There's a delivery on a long promised kill. And then there's a fun little massacre.
Nice.
That's all I'll say.
Fun little massacre. That sounds great. I love it. And then there was, I wanted to get to another one that popped up here. With high quality fan films like Never Hike Alone and It's Me Billy and Dylan's New Nightmare, what do you say to those who hate fan films and think they're a waste of time and not to be taken seriously?
I think they've watched a few and haven't watched the quality ones. I think anyone that watches Never Hike Alone or Dylan's or It's Me Billy or even a few others, you know, the Halloween Inferno movies are pretty good. You know, there's some others out there, but if you watch those, it's hard to deny the quality. You know what I mean? And again, I do, it's one of those, if I do say so myself kind of things, you know, I fully admit that. But I purposely was striving to reach the levels of Never Hike Alone and It's Me Billy, considering I had both creators involved with Dylan's New Nightmare. So, you know, I wanted to make sure we were above the bar that they set. So I do think that these people, these naysayers, just haven't seen that high caliber version of fan films
Mhm.
yet. You know what I mean? And even if they have, if they don't like it, fine. You know,
Yeah.
they're not going to be for everyone. But the people that are willing to give them a shot, they'll usually be like, okay, I see what you're saying. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I think with fan films, it's like, you know, they just keep getting better and better. I think every time a creative person goes, you know, back to the drawing board for something new, there's an opportunity for them to outdo what they did previously, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think that there are people that enjoy these films more than what the studios have been doing for quite a while. So I do think there's a certain group of the fandom out there that like they want to see these characters played with in a way that a studio wouldn't do it because it's just not the safe thing to do, you know?
Agreed. Agreed. Yeah. I mean, we're able to get away with a bit more of that way, but yeah, it's you know, it could go a lot of different ways, but if you get the right people involved with the right energy and the right passion for the project, you can yield some pretty damn good results.
Yeah. No, I mean, Dylan's New Nightmare is proof of that. I think Never Hike Alone 2, you know, looked better than the previous two that came
Yep.
before it.
Mm-hmm.
I think It's Me, Billy Chapter 2 looks like an improvement. You know, at least the little bit of the visuals we've seen and everything, the teaser, I think is looking even better than the first one as well. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's getting tougher and tougher to decipher, you know, the difference between the final product. And that, I
Yeah.
mean, that's the dream, right? So that's as technology advances and as fans realize that, like, you know, well, as fans that understand story and all that start realizing, like, I could actually like do this, like I could put something together, you know, it's
Yeah.
only going to get better. Like you said, the rising tide is gonna, you know, lift all the boats. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I've met anyone that like hates fan films, but definitely, you know, I know there are people that like, oh, they won't cover them, or,
There's some
you
people that
know,
poo-poo them for sure.
at certain channels on YouTube who we won't mention here that'll pick and choose which ones they like to cover and ignore others and stuff
I
like
say
that.
nothing. I say nothing.
So that's why we won't say, but we know they're out there. We know you're out there.
Vince did this. Vince did that. Vince did this. He didn't do that. It's all right.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
I expected it.
but you know, it's going to be, people will not be able to deny it, you know, once you're putting together part 2 here. And then, you know, as you move on with your own creative pieces that are, you know, your own IPs.
Mm-hmm. And you know, those might be happening sooner than people might like, sooner than the haters might like. So we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. So is that something you can talk about at all, as far as like any other projects that you have cooking that you
Yeah, I
you
can't
know,
go.
anticipate?
Yeah, I can't go deep into it, but there's another. So I have 3 full-length scripts. One of them is my own slasher that I am eventually going to try and get going, that I've already procured some good talent to help with it once we get there. But one of my other scripts is a lower budget, essentially single location thriller with a sci-fi twist that that may be getting off the ground a little bit sooner than I was originally thinking. Again, I can't go into details, but stuff is in the works with certain people and certain companies,
Mhm.
and pipelines are being developed. And we can just suffice it to say that one of my ideas is looking like it's going to be a part of said pipeline. Everything will be revealed when it can be, but yes, I do have original stuff that is in the works that hopefully will see the light of day sooner than later.
Well, that's got to be really cool to have something original that just, I would imagine whoever you're, you know, been speaking with, you maybe throw out a few of your ideas and there's one of them that they're like, "Ooh, that one out of these few, like I really like that one's got legs. Let's do it."
So yeah, the slasher that I created, I did pitch to a very particular actor in hopes that they might be willing to play the slasher. And that actor, when I pitched them the rough idea at the table, that actor actually, I gave them my email. They emailed me a few days later, like, "Hey, I really liked your idea. Do you have a script I can read?" And I was like, yeah, you know, I'm sorry. I just assumed you get scripts like that all the time. He's like, yeah, I get ideas pitched all the time, but not that many are as interesting as yours. And I was like, cool. All right. So I sent it
That's
to him,
awesome.
or to them. and they, you know, so they have a copy of the script. And if we ever get to that point, there's a possibility that there's a name people would recognize that wants to be involved. So, yeah, I mean, like Dylan's New Nightmare, what I wanted it to be, again, since we literally can't make any money from it, we were just aiming for it to be I mean, ultimately it kind of comes down to being a $50,000 business card. You know, it's a proof of concept. It's a proof of ability. And, and luckily it's opened some doors that I've been able to start to walk through, hopefully. And at the very least, there are some people behind the scenes that are wanting me to be involved in their creative efforts. People that are already making movies on their own that are selling them and stuff, but they like what I did with Dylan's New Nightmare, so they want my involvement with their future project, at least the next one, if not more beyond that. So like it's great, you know. Dylan's New Nightmare is kind of working out to be the proof of concept I wanted it to be.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, and it's a great, like you said, it opens up some doors, and it's a $50,000 business card that you can like undo the locks like they used to do with credit cards in the movies back in the day.
Hopefully so, yeah.
Break in a little bit, yeah.
That's the plan.
Yeah. And you know I wanted to talk really quick too about you know, the horror show channel, because you have you know, an older show coming back. You're debuting some new shows here this summer. You've got
very soon,
you know, a show coming up with Dave McCrae, who played Freddy in Dylan's New Nightmare. So that's got to be really exciting. That's going to be like you call it a morning zoo show.
So yeah, we're putting together a few new shows for the channel. We did bring back Elevator Pitch about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. Sledgehammer Horror, who obviously you just collaborated with, they were on as my guests / opponents, and they whooped me, as is SOP, standard operating procedure, for the guests of that show. But yeah, so we brought back Elevator Pitch. We're going to be doing a show, or I'm going to be doing a show with Luke from Confused Reviews. That's going to be a lot of fun. Luke is a hilarious individual. Yeah. I can't wait to get that going. Yes, I am doing a show with Dave McCrae. That show has moved a bit towards the back burner just because Dave is hard at work finishing Billy 2. So we may not be able to start it until that's out and good to go. But that is intended to be sort of a crossover between a late night show and a morning zoo show, because whenever Dave and I get together on a stream, we just end up being wild and having fun, and it ends up being very morning zoo / late night show energy. So we're like, the last 5 times we've streamed together, we're like, we should just do a show. We should just do like a late show. And so I'm like, hey man, do you want to actually finally do this? He's like, yeah, let's do that. So once his schedule's cleared up, we will be doing that. And then the other new show, which actually starts 2 days from now, this Friday, and includes none other than Mr. Davey Deathray as one of the people contributing. We're doing Horror from the High Desert. So horror in the high desert is a big thing right now, especially on Shudder and Screambox kind of situation. It's a big subgenre of horror, and considering I know a lot of people doing horror content and more from Phoenix, aka the High Desert, I figured let's put a show together. So the show is going to be with Davey, myself, Jason Smith from Sinister Cinema Reviews, and Braden Timmons from the Braden Timmons channel. So yes, 4 people from the High Desert, and I think the goal is to eventually start rotating in other local creators as well. But yeah, it's so those are the shows we've got coming on the Horror Show channel, and I'm excited to get Horror from the High Desert going with you, Davey.
Hell yeah. Yeah. It's going to be something totally new for me, because I've never done like a panel kind of show. It's usually just me, you know, talking to a camera or keeping guests waiting for 20 minutes. But it'll be really cool because, you know,
I'm gonna feel so bad when we hang up. I'm gonna be like, oh shit, I fucked up his night.
I'm just gonna get a t-shirt that says it. Like, I'll make you, my name's Davey. I'll make you wait 20 minutes. No. No, man, you're cool. I appreciate good-natured ribbing. I think it's something that our society needs to bring back and welcome with open arms. But yeah, I watch a lot of shows where it's kind of like the, you know, handful of people talking heads kind of show. It'll be really cool to be a part of that because it'll be something totally new. Yeah, for me.
Yeah, and so we just plan on tackling a new topic every episode, and of course, considering the show is horror from the high desert, we're going to be talking about horror in the high desert for that first episode. So there's lots of desert set horror movies, so we're going to be able to talk about any and all of them, and then you know, we could go so far as to take audience suggestions as to what the topic should be for the following episode. Maybe we could make that a thing. You know, it's in its nascent stages, and I just think it's going to be a lot of fun. You know, we're all opinionated dudes.
Yeah, absolutely. We are. We've all got our little tastes that differentiate, and then tastes that overlap. And then I think the idea of throwing that out to the audience, you know, doing polls it's kind of fun. Like at first I was like, man, I'm gonna put this poll out there and like no one's gonna participate because, you know, I have a relatively small channel. And then I'd put out a poll and be like, oh my god, that got like the most interaction I've gotten in a really long time. That's great.
The audience loves interaction. Yeah, so they're there for it for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that, you know, as the channel's gone along here, I've moved a little bit more towards the live aspect because I really enjoy interacting with people. I mean,
agreed.
That's been one of the most fun things, is just interacting with the live audience for sure.
That's part of why I like Elevator Pitch so much, because not only is there interaction with the audience, but A, they have to provide a topic that we're going to pitch on, and B, they have to decide the winner of every episode. So like I love that back and forth, and it's fun too because every time I bring on someone new from another channel, they bring their audience with them, or at least a portion of it to watch. And like just like every other time, the most recent one, we had people, you know, from Sledgehammer's channel that were like, this is a lot of fun. This is a great live show. This is so much fun. I want to make sure I watch more. I'm like, yeah, great. You know, I love that.
That's the wild thing about YouTube too, is because like I watch a whole bunch of different kind of stuff on YouTube. So there are content creators that like I probably should have found, you know, years ago or months ago or whatever. And then for whatever reason, you just stumble upon them, through something like that. Like I've been fortunate enough to, you know, through those collaborations, same kind of thing, working with the Sledgehammer horror couple, and then having people jump on my live because they saw me over there. It's really awesome. I mean, the community, it has been so incredibly, you know, supportive on YouTube. And I don't think like, I haven't had any interactions with anyone that's been like outright rude or anything. The content creators have been really supportive. Like obviously
you don't have the personality that'll attract that. You don't.
Well, just wait now. I keep it clean on here. No, but I mean, you know, you took me under your wing early on, and who knows where this channel would be like without that, because it was just sort of like, it kind of helped me like figure out. Well, no, because I think it helped me figure out like, oh, this is like the way you can do things and approach things. And it was just cool to make a friend with somebody that, you know, is in that similar kind of, you know, has similar interests in doing similar kind of stuff. So, you know, who knows? I'd probably be stuck at like 250 subs or something like that. But whatever, you'd soldier on.
You'd be doing just fine. No. But no, I appreciate the kind words. Yeah, no, I mean, clearly you know, you were a nice dude, and you know, again, it's all about community in this. That's the funny thing, right? The horror genre is the most quote unquote fucked up genre, and yet the fan base for horror movies is some of the nicest, most loyal fucking people you'll find in any fandom. Like it's crazy how supportive the horror fandom is amongst each other, and I absolutely love that. So cultivating that is the smart way to go. And unfortunately, over the course of my 10 years on YouTube, I've gotten caught up in some fucking YouTube drama that just doesn't make sense. And so if there was one piece of advice I gave you, it was what? Don't get involved in YouTube drama, because it's just not worth it. You know, it's just not worth it.
Yeah, I try to, even if I'm like, is someone being confrontational with that comment? I'm like, I'm just gonna have fun with it. I can't
Mhm.
like, and everyone is so sweet. Like I've been, at this point, I guess the more subs you get, the more likely it is that somebody's gonna be like, you suck because you like Halloween ends.
Yeah.
And even though you told me that, Cecil, like it's okay. We can still be friends.
I can't help it. You like ends. What am I gonna do? Not say that?
But it is, I think you're dead on there with like the just how how great the horror community is. You know and maybe like the further you dive into any sort of niche community, maybe that is found on some level, but it is really cool. Like, coming from the world of punk rock, it was really similar. Like the people that show up to the shows are looking out for each other. They're
Mhm.
really sweet, like regardless of how they look. And then you go to a horror convention and there's like a bunch of Art the Clowns walking around, but everyone's like the nicest person ever. So
Big
it's just
big crossover between the two groups too. Like
oh,
I
for
love,
sure.
yeah, punk rockers are dope. Like that's the fun thing. Like I grew up and I fancied myself a social butterfly. Like I was able to kind of float between all the different groups, and I was able to kind of see the positives in them all. And
Mhm.
it's just so nice when there's commonalities, and I just found that certain fandoms just are cooler and less judgy. Like
Mhm.
the people I've okay, so there is the occasional fan online that's like, you're not a true horror fan if you don't like bloody 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 blah. You know what I've never seen? That in person. I've
Sure.
never seen someone in person go, you're not a horror fan if blah blah blah. Because
Yeah.
any horror fan in person that sees another horror fan, they're gonna fucking talk about the horror shit that they love. They're gonna say, oh, I saw you at this person's table. Isn't that fucking awesome what they did? And weren't they so
Yeah.
fucking nice? And like it's never gonna be the negative shit in person.
Mhm.
Those people with negative opinions on horror online are just the trolls that only feel comfortable doing it online. In
Yeah.
person, I just haven't seen that many horror trolls in person. Not even enough to even register, really.
Yeah, and I think people would be way less likely to make it personal in line or in person rather than online, because online people just they'll say whatever. Like
Yeah,
they'll call you a name for having a different
no
opinion,
holds
and it's
barred
like,
because they know there's
yeah,
no consequences. There's no one to slap
yeah.
them down like there used to be 20 years ago.
Exactly. Yeah, you can't just talk shit and the phrase is talk shit, get hit,
Yeah.
that's how that
Well,
goes.
we've outlawed bullying, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing, but bullying is what kept those fuckers in control,
Yeah.
unfortunately. So now, oh Jesus, it gets way crazier.
But all,
Lots of dumb people have been emboldened in this country, and it doesn't
oh,
great.
for
It
sure.
doesn't go great, but yeah, I mean, outside of all of that, the horror community is just a lovely island amongst the craziness.
So, do you think that maybe one of the reasons why, you're saying there's similarities between, the punk rock and the horror and all that stuff? Do you think it's because those interests are fringe interests? So, people that enjoy those things sort of feel like outsiders, even if they don't, even if everything about them other than that is relatively normal. Like, here I am, just some white dude, but I'm like, oh, I feel like an outsider because I love punk rock and horror. Like, is that what it is that sort of, makes those people more accepting and just a hell of a lot of fun to be around?
Yeah, I think it's that commonality, like everyone, even though they do something different, they all love the horror genre, and thus they're able to commiserate even amongst their different interests,
Mhm.
because horror allows that, and like, people that are into punk rock can like this kind of horror. People that are into not punk rock, that are into different things, can like this kind of horror, but it's still horror, and they can find
Yeah.
common ground amongst that. So, yeah, I just think it's so funny. As bad as some people look at it, horror is a very unifying genre.
Yeah. Well, and I think as as the world grows to be maybe like I guess more diverse, you could say, but just as people feel like that they can let their voices be heard more, it seems like horror is it's kind of come up as sort of this film genre where all sorts of different ideas can be represented and characters you know, even if they were more caricature, stereotypy back in the day, we're getting more fully realized characters that are just, you know, not necessarily all run of the mill. So there's definitely that kind of aspect that I see in horror too. I mean, it's a place where people come to sort of like celebrate the beautiful weirdos that we all are.
No, agreed. It's a oh, excuse me, sorry. Oh, it's been a long day. It's not because I'm bored. No, it allows, you know, it's an outlet for those of us that don't necessarily have an outlet, and you know, it's a comfort space for a lot of people that can't find comfort in what's considered normal. You know what I mean? So I love that it's so many different things to so many different people, and yet it doesn't become reasons to like argue with each other. Like the differences within the horror genre don't cause conflict within the horror genre. The differences within the horror genre seem like they're accepted and moved beyond so much faster than in any other sort of societal group. Because it's like, look, we may not like all the same stuff, but man, those kills were fucking cool, right? You know what I mean? And that's like, there's very little out there that has that sort of commonality without a bunch of bullshit attached to it. You know what I mean?
For sure. Unless you're on Twitter and you've fallen into the Scream Twitter. That's the only I don't know if you've seen Scream Twitter, but holy crap, Scream Twitter is crazy.
I want to see what Scream Twitter is.
Well, that's my own little thing. It's
no, like some fandom is just crazy. You know, I thought Halloween fandom was the crazy ones, and then Scream kind of went nuts too. And now I'm like, oh, it's Halloween and Scream fandom. But it's just it's a younger generation that just hasn't learned how to regulate because they've been locked away from society due to COVID and stuff like that. It's a bunch of craziness, but luckily the genre is still accepting of people even with those dispositions, because they learn pretty quickly. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that it's just, it's like Big Rod said here, we discuss, not argue.
Agreed.
And especially when you're, you know, face to face with people, it's really cool to talk about the things that, you know, one thing I always say here on the channel is like, I welcome all sorts of opinions about movies and everything, but the one thing that I ask for is tell me why. Because I think that's the one thing that, you know, when people are like, oh, it's shit, or oh, it's garbage, or it's trash, you know, it's like, well, if you can tell me why you think it's shitty, like, you know.
No, and I especially love the throwback way you say it every episode, where you're like, tell me why, right? So that's always it's always really cute.
Tell me why.
Thank you for not leaving me hanging.
I do a little bit of singing
giving it a go
every now and then, you know.
No, but it's great, and the fun thing is, you know, those of us that know what the horror community is like we're so comfortable just living in it. You know what I mean? Like, we go to these conventions, we don't get anxious, you know, we don't get worried. We're just like, oh, this is just going to be my people. Like, how many times have you heard people talking about going to a horror convention or having gone to a horror convention, and they're just like, they're just my people? Like, how many other things, places, events do all of the attendees say, it's just my people? You know what I mean? I that.
It feels like I you know, it's like going to church sometimes. It's like one of those things where you're just like, I feel like I can really, you know, let go of it. Like, you walk into the hall, into the convention hall, and everything just sheds, you know, you shed all the worries in the world, you know.
Agreed.
And that is one of the beautiful things about it. Absolutely. I can't get enough. Yeah, I mean, going to H45 was just like, I spent probably the first like couple hours just walking around like this. I was like that. Have you ever seen that show, the TV Funhouse show that was on Comedy Central? And they did the it's the baby, the immigrant, and the guy on mushrooms. And like all of them just look at everything and they all go, like,
that's obscure, but it's appropriate.
Yeah, I know. Everyone's like, what the hell did he say about the immigrant?
Careful with that one.
it's a turn of the century immigrant, so it's a lot more acceptable.
Right, yeah.
The guy on mushrooms, I love that halfway through the skit, he has to put in more mushrooms. Oh.
Yeah, they wear off.
But that's what they do. You have to eat them at a rate to where you get to ride the waves, right?
Yep,
That's the key.
exactly
that's
right.
The key when you do that.
Even though I've been unsuccessful both times I've tried it, yep, that's what you got to do.
Oh my gosh, I had to just I could dabble, but I couldn't go full bore into that. I'm no good when it comes to the hard stuff.
Yeah, I realized that in order to do mushrooms, you have to be completely okay with your place in life, because if you're not, your mind will focus on it and it will fuck you up.
Yeah. Yep. One time I did mushrooms. Oh, am I gonna get struck even though YouTube doesn't care about anything I do? So just took a little cap, rub it in some honey, just munching on down, nothing fancy like tea. And then a couple hours later had another one so I could like ride that wave, and for whatever reason, it was like snowing outside. So I was inside, which everyone's like, don't ever do mushrooms and stay inside. But I watched the original Batman film with Adam West. And then immediately watched Batman Forever after. And it's like it made me realize, oh my God, Batman Forever is just a loving homage to this. And then I played Resident Evil 4 until I fell asleep. So I chose all these strange things to do.
Yeah, I made the wrong choices because I wasn't happy with my place in life and I didn't realize my mind would have focused on that. But B, I decided to eat the mushrooms and then like, hey, there's a new Pixar movie out. It's called WALL-E. Let's go watch it. Oh. And then like I got through the previews and I looked over at producer Dave and I was like, I got to get out of here. And so I went out and we ended up, luckily I lived very close. So he was okay enough to drive us back to my house. And then he basically played video games on the couch while I laid on the couch and was just like, please just tell me everything's going to be okay. And he's just like, everything's going to be okay. And, so I never did it again because I'm still not completely satisfied with my place in life. And I know my mind would be like, fuck you. You're not happy. And that's what you're going to focus on. You know what I mean?
It can happen. Yeah. I definitely had a moment or two where that kind of thing crept in and you just have to like it's tough to push it out anyways, let alone when you're in that state. Yeah. It's almost like a drug that would be really good for like therapy sessions or something like that, where like you microdose and then you talk freely about everything you're thinking just to like get it out.
Yeah, exactly.
Who knew we would get here to microdosing?
What's up, Kanan? Good to see you. I jumped in on your stream earlier. I was going to comment, but you guys were chatting and I was too interested and then I forgot to comment.
Great to see you pop in here, Kanan. Really love your content over there, man. Love what you do. And I think this is your first time jumping in. So welcome. Love to do something, put something together here with you. I know we've been chatting a little bit on Instagram, so let's keep that going and put a little something to work.
Cole, I'm so sorry. That sounds awful. Shrooms, Blair Witch in a theater with a guy named Josh.
Wow. That's hardcore.
Yeah,
now, which would be tougher, the first Blair Witch or watching the second Blair Witch on shrooms? Which would be
I don't know.
That second one is like a trip without the drugs.
So my WALL-E experience was my second experience with shrooms. The first time it was with a bunch of my roommates and we took shrooms and we went to go see the very first Lord of the Rings. Okay. At a midnight show when it first dropped, a 3-hour movie at a midnight show on mushrooms. When we got there, it turned out that the theater we were in had a broken AC and there was something wrong with the music track. So instead of like if the music was like it actually sounded like
it was like
for the whole movie with no AC. And
like
I was on shrooms.
Yeah, that's like a joke.
Awful. It was the worst thing I've ever experienced. So yeah, I had 2 unfortunate experiences on shrooms, and thus I was like, never again. But on my
Yeah.
way to watch the movie, I felt like I unlocked the secret of the universe. And I was like, oh my God, I've figured it all out. And then by the time I thought about it the next day, I was like, I don't remember what I figured out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's do you get really good sleep afterwards? Because the couple times I did it, I slept like a friggin' rock. Like I had never slept better.
It's possible. I can't remember that particular portion of it, to be honest with you.
You know, it's so the AC unit breaking, what time of year was it? Were you guys sweating?
It doesn't matter. It's Arizona. It's always hot.
True. Yeah.
But it
had-
was during this. Well, when did Lord of the Rings, the original, come out? Oh, it was December. So it wouldn't have been that bad. But when it's a theater packed of sweaty Lord of the Rings fans, for the first time they've seen a movie of their shit, the heat rises quickly.
Everyone's like farting nervously.
They're all like
Cheeto fingers,
hot flashes. Like, oh my God, I'm hard. It's Gandalf. You know,
it's the ring wraiths from Harry Potter.
Oh,
yeah, I had an experience once where it was the total opposite. For a short amount of time, I lived in Bozeman, Montana, with some buddies that I played in a band with. We went and saw, gosh, what was it? The Matrix Reloaded. Is that the second one?
Sure. Yeah, Revolution.
Whatever. I only liked the first Matrix, really. And the friggin' heat broke. So we're in Bozeman, Montana. The heat broke, and it was like November when the movie came out. Mm-hmm. So they're like, here's some blankets, and people, this is Bozeman, Montana, like you're 5,000 feet elevation. So we're talking like you can see your breath, and you're like, I paid for this shit. I paid for the dreadlock twins to be fighting on a freeway for 15 minutes. What the hell is this?
Mm-hmm. Wasn't this worth it?
Matrix. It was perfect at the end of the first movie. That's where you end it. What are you doing trying to continue that story? It was perfect.
Yeah, pretty much, basically. And then they did it again with the Matrix re-getting money, whatever that one was called.
Yeah, because they already used Resurrection, right? So they couldn't use Resurrection.
Well, no, I think it was Resurrection because they used Reloaded and Revolutions for the third one, and I think this one was Matrix Resurrected. Yeah,
I'd rather watch Halloween Resurrection.
You know what? People hate on that. I enjoyed that installment.
Honestly,
I like the reality show aspect and stuff.
There's certain things that really work for me on that one. I don't hate it. I know there's I think The Mask sometimes looks really good, and you can't really say that about H2O, or at least I can't say that about H2O. Maybe Barry can say that about H2O.
Barry will say whatever he wants to cause havoc in the chat.
He'll be like, it's Stan Winston made that mask. Jesus Christ himself made that mask.
Yeah, basically.
And it's like, doesn't mean that everything Stan does is great, but no.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So we went from talking about going to church to talking about microdosing shrooms.
Little all over the place,
Yeah. What a fun chat, though. What a fun chat.
For sure.
I don't think there's anything else I wanted to bug you about, but is there anything else you've got going on that you want to let people know about here in the chat?
Just that, I'm on page 117 of Dylan's New Nightmare 2, the ideal version of the script, which may or may not be the final version, but it's it's an important version, I'll say that much. So having fun with that and getting these new shows going. Very excited about Horror from the High Desert in 2 days. So make sure you guys come in and subscribe to my channel so that way you can see Davey yet again in just 2 days from now.
Yeah, I'm like a really bad rash. You just can't get rid of him.
Can't get rid of him. He's like alligator's blood for any round.
There was like a little Gotham Noir meeting or something, and Vin was like, Davey, were you there for Dylan's New Nightmare? And I'm like, no, I mean, I absolutely wasn't. I didn't know you guys until after. And he's like, I don't know, for whatever reason, it all blends. It's like you were there the whole time. I'm like, Vince, I'm like the rash you can't get rid of.
Yeah, I'm hoping I can still help out with Gotham Noir in some way. So, but at the very least, maybe I can do something with, Chris Chris and I did talk, and he's interested in perhaps helping out with DNN too if it happens and stuff. So
Hell yeah.
Hopefully we'll get to work on something together soon.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's, it's still in, pre-production right now, so there's still room for, all sorts of help.
I'm happy to help however I can. I really wanted to help on the script side of things. Well, not to write it or whatever, but just take a look at it, just because I have been collecting Batman comics for the last 30 years. So I definitely have a perspective that might be valuable, but it's not my movie. So that's just the Batman fan in me wanting to find out what the story is early.
No, for sure. Yeah. And I think that, I think that, when we're in this stage of making the movie, it's sort of like, let's get all this stuff hammered out right now, before we're, obviously before you go to camera, but like, this is the time to get all the ideas out there,
Right.
and not wait until you're shooting and be like, gosh, if only we had taken another look at this thing,
Yeah.
And that is one thing that I kind of wanted to talk to you about, because you had mentioned collecting comics earlier. You've got a whole storage unit filled with thousands, I would imagine, thousands of comics at this point.
I've got over 90 long boxes full at this point, and you can fit 300 to 400 bagged and boarded comics in every long box. So when you multiply that together, it's definitely multiple thousands of comics, and probably 4 of those long boxes alone are Batman comics, because I've been collecting Batman literally since Bane broke his back in Nightfall. So I have every Batman comic since then, including a lot, most if not all of the mini series that have been going on along the way. So yeah, I'm a huge Batman fan. And I would considering I'm a huge horror fan, and Batman Noir is a fucking horror Batman story, I'm like, God damn it, let me look at the script.
I need to see it.
I can help.
Maybe I can pull some strings. I didn't know that you were, interested in that regard. So,
oh my God, so much so. And that's, the story side of things that's why I actually sent Chris a message earlier asking, hey, if there was going to be a Superman movie, are you thinking it'd be a short or a full-length feature just like Noir? Because I want to get ahead of the game and just write an idea and see how they react to it. Because with the Reeve-like costume, I think there's such a room on the market right now for what I call kind of like nice guy Superman. Like the actual Superman character that's supposed to be the way he is. And I think Chris could really embody it. And I have ideas of how it could happen. So like, I'll get writing on that if I can't get in on the writing of Noir.
Yeah. And he looks amazing in that suit. There's something about that suit that it's like blue jeans and a t-shirt. Like, it's just never going to go out of style, that Reeve suit.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And certainly that whole, I'm right there with you as far as Superman. Like, I like it when Superman's kind of like predictably wholesome, like I got nothing wrong with that.
There's a comic that came out recently written by Joshua Williamson, the current writer of Superman. And he just had like 2 splash pages in a row before Superman went to the plot or whatever. Like, he just flew by a baseball game and just like high-fived a kid fan, that was cheering and stuff. Just like little things that Superman would do that no one fucking depicts, because like, I don't know why. Like, it's the equivalent of saving the cat. It's just Superman being Superman, the Boy Scout. He's the Boy Scout. He loves America. He loves humanity. Like let him love things. Like, let him smile. For fuck's sake, Zack Snyder, you know what I mean? Like, that's where I feel about it. And so I think Chris could very much be the guy smiley Superman that I think the world deserves, honestly.
Yeah, I always see him as like the saturated, like all the goodness of Americana, like saturated, 100% is, and that's why the whole Red Sun thing is such an interesting idea, because it just plays on, Superman is just a product of where he grew up. Yep. And, and he grew up in...
You're talking about the Superman Red Sun Elseworld story written by Mark Miller that was 3 issues and so amazing, right?
Yes.
I am a fan, sir, is what I'm saying.
But yeah, it's cool because it totally gives you this. It's like, oh well, he certainly is a product of where he was raised. That's what that Elsewhere story confirms, you know. So
Elseworld.
or Elseworld, sorry. I don't know what I'm saying half the time. When I'm on live, it's like it's an out of body experience every
It's all
single
right.
time. It might
We
be the suit
established the
jacket.
glasses, so it's okay.
Yeah. So now your Superman idea, you don't have to tell me everything now, but does it take place in in like that 40s, 50s, like that
No,
kind of era?
no, I would not do that. I would not do that. No, I think I would try and make it live in today. I think setting it as a period piece is only going to add cost to your story without necessarily
True.
adding a ton of quality to it.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think I'd keep it towards today and just we don't need to rely on a muscle suit. Let's get a guy
Yeah.
that just looks good and can pull everything off and can be Clark. And like, again, Superman is a beacon of light in the world. He needs to be treated as such. I fucking hated the Snyderverse so much simply because it was built on the idea of dark Superman, and I fucking hated that. I always looked at Man of Steel as an Elseworlds movie because that's the only way I could not want to piss on it every single night before I go to bed.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely feels like it, right? And it's like it's one of those things too where it's like I get why they made it because it's like you want to have some different perspective on a familiar character, and you can always go back to that original interpretation. You can
Yeah.
always. I mean, I felt like Superman Returns was just so like boring, and
well, you made him a creepy stalker first off, and you made the bad guy a fucking real estate broker, and you made the ultimate final villain a goddamn kryptonite island. How many missteps can you make in one movie? That's a lot.
This is great because I fucking hate Superman Returns. It's one of the worst movies I've ever big production, big studio films I've ever seen. There are a couple of moments in there. I'm not even the fan that you are, Cecil, but I could only imagine what you would be thinking as Superman lands on Kryptonite Island. Because if it really was Kryptonite Island, he'd probably just fall in the ocean right before getting there and then drown underneath it. Not only that, but then they shove the kryptonite in his side, kick him over. He still picks up Kryptonite Island. How's he picking up Kryptonite Island?
He's not.
And then they cut his suit in the hospital, and I'm like, now you're really pissing me off here.
Yeah, dude. So there were two good moments in that entire movie: the bullet in the eye, which was amazing for marketing, and then, in my opinion, the one moment where some shit's going on in the city and something blows up and debris falls and Superman is just flying. I think they nailed the flying because all you hear is the cape whipping in the wind. Like it's silent except for the cape whipping in the wind, which is what it would be. But the debris falls and Superman turns onto his back and just does a wide fucking heat beam that just vaporizes all the debris before it hits anyone below. That cool shit was really fucking cool. That's Superman shit. So like they had a couple moments where they were like, that nails Superman. And then the rest was like, who the fuck is this? Like, this is Super Stalker. Like, what the fuck?
It was odd. Yeah. And I do think, Cole says he big fan of Brandon Routh's soups. I don't think I would never fault Brandon Routh. I thought he looked good in the part and all that stuff. And as far as I think he was. Yeah, and I think he was mostly doing modeling work before landing that role. And I think that his acting is, as far as I can remember, is not a problem when I think about that movie. I felt like Kevin Spacey was pretty distracting.
I liked him as Lex. I liked him as Lex. I just thought they gave him shit to do as Lex.
Yeah, he has the same. It's the same idea from the very first Superman movie. It's I'm going to create
real estate.
And I'm going to own the land. And it's just like, man.
No, Lex's problem is he's the best man he knows until Superman shows up. And he's an alien and he's better. And Lex fucking hates him for that. And that's what Lex Luthor is. Lex Luthor is a petty bitch with a ton of power and money.
Yeah.
And like, that's what makes it fun. Because Superman has a ton of power, but not in the same way Lex does. So their butting of heads, it can be so good. I'm actually quite excited for the Gunn DCU. I really, really am. I think Gunn gets it. He's posted a number of comic panels from comics that I love that are just the moments that I'm talking about, the super moments where he's just being a Superman and not Superman. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I
I
follow
think
him.
Gunn gets it.
Yeah, I've been seeing all that where he's like, hey, boys and girls, if anyone ever makes you feel bad for your, country of origin or, all this kind of like, and it's this panel that must have been from the 60s or something like that, 50s or 60s. And he's like, you can tell them they're not, or they're un-American. I'm like, yeah, this is great. Like, this is the guy.
Yeah, I think Gunn gets it. I like that Corn Sweat. He's just basically, baby other dude. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Baby Cavill, right? Corn Sweat is just kind of baby Cavill.
A little bit, yeah.
So I think it's going to be good. I have definitely more faith in Gunn's version of the universe than Snyder's version, even though, Gunn is technically usually considered sort of an outlier, but he did so good with Guardians of the Galaxy, again, being an outlier. And then I think he did amazing with the Suicide Squad, again, being an outlier. That movie was so much fun. And in Gunn, I trust. I just think it's going to be fun. And he gets that Superman needs to be a good fucking dude before anything else.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's going to be the trick, is just, pulling that off in a way that, people will accept in this day and age, where maybe people want to see something that's more complex. Not that it can't be complex and he's, can't be wholesome and complex at the same time. But I think that, that's kind of what they, poo-pooed on even in, I think it was even in Superman Returns, where he's like, does he still stand for truth, justice, all that kind of stuff or whatever?
Yeah,
like he didn't even want to say the
American way. Yeah.
They like couldn't even. So it's like, it
movie
will
has
be
to play in
interesting.
China, Davey.
It does, damn it. But yeah, I think James Gunn, man, what an incredible career that guy has had, from going to, writing movies for Troma to writing the Dawn of the Dead remake. And, was it Slither? Was that his first film that he did?
And then he made Super, which is incredible and not nearly enough people have seen.
Yeah. Yeah, is that Rainn Wilson?
Rainn Wilson and at the time Ellen Page, now Elliot Page.
Gotcha.
Not trying to dead name them, but that is who it was at the time. Sure.
Yeah, that's the name on the credits. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that James is one of those guys. It's a good blend between, of course you have to, play along with the studio to some regard, but also I think he does have a little bit of that punk rock edge that makes him, has made him a perfect fit for these kind of like fringe stories. It'll be really cool to see how he handles something that's so like, it doesn't get any bigger than Superman,
No, agreed. And it's a lot, and not only is he in charge of Superman, he's fucking Kevin Feige. He's in charge of all of the DCU. And I think, but that actually excites me. I think he gets it. Like the idea, like the choice to make Creature Commandos, like the first animated project of the DCU, is so weird, but look at what he did with Guardians. Look at what he did with the Suicide Squad. Like, again, okay, Gunn, go for it. Let's see what you got, and I'm so like, one of the things I'm more excited about than anything is the fucking Green Lantern stuff we're going to get, because we have not gotten any Green Lantern. And Hal Jordan, AKA Parallax, like my favorite characters in comics are Superman, Hal Jordan, aka Parallax, Venom, and Neron, who is basically the DC Universe devil. And Bane, so those are the ones that I love, and I know that Gunn is the kind of person that'll take advantage of those kind of characters. So
yeah,
I'm just very excited about it.
Hell yeah. Yeah, it's going to be, what is it, 2025? Next July or something like
Superman?
that?
Maybe that quick, because they're filming right now, I believe.
Yeah. What do you think of that suit? I thought it looked sort of, that one shot they showed, it was odd. It looked a little bunchy on the shoulders, but it's tough to tell until you see him in action, right?
I didn't mind it. It's the Earth 1 suit with trunks. So if you look up Superman Earth 1, they did a new, like there's like 3 or 4 hardcover graphic novels written by Jeff Johns, art by Gary Frank, really amazing artist and writer combination. But that suit is very much the Earth 1 suit, with including the collar kind of thing. But it has trunks in the Earth 1 suit. Maybe the Earth 1 suit does have the red trunks. Anyway, it's the most like the Earth 1 suit. I think giving the shot in the position that he was in, putting on his boots, I think that was the mistake. I didn't mind it because, Superman has to do that. But generally, yes, when he's suiting up, it's very quick, and he wouldn't be doing it sitting down like that. You know what I mean?
We're probably not going to see that in the movie.
Right. So like for promotional purposes, it's fine. I didn't have the issue everyone else did. But at the same time, I'm like, that's not probably how it would go down.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it. The suit looks great. I think the suit looks dope.
Yeah. He looks like a good fit for the role too. I've never even seen the actor in anything. I've never even heard of him before this. So
no,
but he's got the look, and like
as
you
long
said,
as they let him fucking smile, unlike Cavill, then I'll be happy.
Now, do you think they'll do something fun, like have him play the baseball game with the one kid? And
I really hope so. Like that's the shit that matters. I think Gunn will. If
he doesn't, you put that in your movie.
Oh, 100%. Oh, I'm going to put stuff like that in the one I write anyway, because that's fucking Superman. You know what I mean? Like that's just the way of it. Those are the moments that I love. I've been reading Superman since he died in 1992. And there's so many instances where there was one episode or one issue that was strictly about a dude that once did a crime that Superman saved during the crime because he was going to die, and he promised Superman he would live his life on the straight and narrow, and Superman has literally just checked in with him every 5 years, and they get together at a coffee shop and have a conversation every 5 years or so, and Superman sees just what this dude has made of his life, because Superman saved him and gave him a chance to be better rather than throwing him into prison. And that's the fucking Superman that no one sees in these goddamn movies. So that's the stuff I want to see. And that's the stuff I believe Gunn will deliver to us.
That sounds amazing. That sounds like the kind of thing that would be refreshing to see. You know, he can still handle the big bad and all that stuff, but it would be cool to see, you know, how he would affect the lives of, you know, everyone as a whole, but also, you know, individuals on top of that.
Yep.
Absolutely.
100%.
Well, shoot. Holy cow, Cecil. We've been talking for quite a while here. We might as well wrap things up. I could probably talk to you forever. You know how
I appreciate it, man. And again, I'm sorry for giving you shit right out of the gate. I couldn't help it.
It's going to keep me up all night.
Good.
Well, thank you so much, man. I've had a blast having you on the show here. I know we'll probably have you on, you know, hopefully numerous times down the line here. You know, just as long as I can keep it up. Let's see how it treats me here. But looking forward to hopping on with you, Braden, and Jason on Friday as well, so we can talk some horror in the high desert on Horror from the High Desert.
Indeedy, sir. Yeah, I'm very excited. Thank you again for having me on. It's always a great time chatting with you, Davey.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Cecil. And you guys can check out Cecil's, you can check out his social medias and the links in the description below. You can check out the Horror Show channel. I also put a link for Dylan's new Nightmare in the description below for anyone that hasn't seen it, or if you just want to watch it again. Because there's a little bit of an age restriction there when you look it up. So just click that link, go right to it. Yeah, I didn't mean to bring up any, you know, something.
We're going to be putting up an edited version eventually. So hopefully there will be a version that's not age restricted soon, but we'll see.
Yeah. Well, you guys are on the cusp of a couple 100,000 views. So share that link, get it out there. Hey, man, I tell you what, I celebrated when I got my first video that was 1,000 views, and it was
No, I
just the
get it.
reaction to the Crow trailer
No, I
that
get
everyone
it. Yeah.
hated.
I get it. It's so frustrating because we got to 100,000 in the first 5 days, and then we got age restricted, and so we've gotten like 88,000 in the months and months since. As a result, it's so frustrating. I hate you.
Yeah, that is frustrating. Well, I mean, the picture is a fine film, so
Thank you.
everyone go
Thank
and
you.
watch it again. And Cecil, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your night, and I'll see you here in less than 48 hours.
Oh shit, you're right. Yep, sounds good, brother. We'll see you then.
All right, take care.
All right, later, man.
Bye. All right, everybody, that wraps it up for the 6th episode of Late Night with the Davey. Yep, every time you say it, just think Running with the Devil by Van Halen, and that's it. It'll get stuck in your head just like that. You guys have been amazing in the chat, hanging out with us all night. This has been a heck of a long show, quite a marathon. But yeah, guys, I think from now on, or maybe, I do have some shows planned here, so I'll see if my guests can make it work. But I think from now on, I'd like to have both guests on at the same time. I know a few of you in the chat said that sounded like a good idea to you. I think it'll be great to sort of open up the conversation, not have it be so centered just on a few topics for each person, but also allow me to, bring in both guests at the same time. Maybe the show won't be 2 hours and 45 minutes if we go that way as well. So we'll see. But yeah, guys, check out the links in the description below for our amazing guests. I'm going to add in the Teespring. Is it the Teespring link for Cole down there below, so you guys can reach him. I'll also put Cole's Instagram in there as well, so you guys can reach out with a DM if you want to hire him for any work or anything like that. And check out the Kickstarter for Gotham Noir. That's in the description as well. We just started crowdfunding yesterday. We're really close to 10% of our goal, but we can't do it without you guys. If you don't know about Gotham Noir, this is a Batman horror film that takes place in the early 1900s. This is going to be a Batman and a Gotham like you've never seen before. We've got Chris Stanley, cosplay Chris himself, playing Bruce Wayne and Batman. And not only are the amazing people over at Lux Media on this project, who, you know them from Uncharted, the Oxys Redemption, we also got Vin DeSanti and the folks over at Womp Stomp Films to join us on the project. So we're super pumped. We're raising money now. Go over, check out the Kickstarter, get a perk, and we're going to be unveiling more images, teases, all sorts of fun stuff to whet that appetite and get you guys so pumped for this film. So thank you so much again to my amazing guests, Cole MUNRO-CHITTY and Cecil Laird. You guys were awesome. It was amazing and just really fun. I mean, when the show goes 2 hours and 45 minutes, it's because we're having a good time. So I really appreciate you guys spending that time with me. And of course, you guys in the chat, I love you so much. And everyone watching after the fact, drop a comment down below. Let me know what you thought of tonight's show. Let's talk some Superman. Let's talk microdosing. Let's talk going to church that isn't religious church, like going to a convention or a basement show or something fun like that. Don't forget to click that like button and subscribe if you haven't yet. And I will be back on Friday night over on the Horror Show channel for Horror from the High Desert. Until then, I've been and will continue being Davey Deathray. Take care.